A threatening note in broken English.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, December 7th, 2014, and time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 676.
This is No Agenda.
Celebrating Cinco de Mayo in December from FEMA Region 6 here in the capital of the Drone Star State, Austin, Texas. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we say WTF, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Really? WTF what?
I don't know. Just WTF in general.
You don't have some kind of exclusive there in northern Silicon Valley.
Okay, so I've got my charts, and I got to punch holes in these things, and then I got to put it in a binder. I've decided to take up fabric dyeing.
Okay, I'm game. Fabric dyeing. All right.
Yes, fabric dyeing.
Is this like tie-dye?
Well, tie-dye is I guess I would have to experiment with that, of course. I mean, how could you pass it up?
Yeah.
But no, I was thinking of just some new ideas. I think the world of dyeing has been dying.
Yeah, because why bother with any of that when you can just get all your stuff from China?
Not anymore. You can't. You can't. So the number one color for this spring season, it was determined by these guys at Pantone. And so they called this thing Marsala, and it's kind of a brownish maroon. Not very exciting. But I think it would make a good male shirt if you could go buy one right now, and you can't.
The things you think of.
And so I'm thinking, why can't I have this shirt right now?
Before
the color's been released. But you can dye your own. You get a nice white shirt, and you drop in some of this dye, and then you get this colored shirt. And you can wear a modern colored shirt,
and then you're going to wear this around town.
You could wear it around town if you wanted.
Okay, all right.
But you can't now. I can't buy that shirt unless
it's an outrage.
It's all you can get is blue and white.
So you're telling me that the fashion colors are not determined by Vogue magazine or by any of the haute couture designers, but by the guys at Pantone.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I had no idea.
I mean, this is always the color guys.
And I'll bet you there's a lot of people who would disagree.
And the fashion industry responds to, okay, well, here's the colors we've got to work with.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to look into this. I'm not so sure that's how it works.
No, you have to because the fabrics have to be out in time for the season to begin. So somebody has to call the colors, and so these color guys at Pantone go, "We're calling the colors," and so they call the colors. And then the fabric.
Stop! Hold on a second. This is very interesting. Explain to me this meeting and where is it held and who is in the room when they quote call the colors.
That's the unanswered question.
Thank you. I want to know now.
It would be probably fashion people, and I would guess fabric manufacturers and all the people in between, and they sit around and they call the colors, and they base them on the last season. They get 4 rounds of these colors, and so they base them on usually last season or the last quarter's colors, and they try to rotate them every quarter, and they don't vary. If you look at the winter colors from 2014 and the spring colors from 2015 that are coming up, which includes Marsala, which is the shirt I can't get.
Yeah, this is
I have to dye it myself if I want one.
Now, most importantly, what is the hex code for Marsala?
Oh, the hex! I can get it. You can look it up. Just type in Pantone Marsala, and they'll give you the number. And they give you the Pantone number. Then you have to find a converter to get the hex code.
Because I think I would just like a shirt that is white that just has the hex code on it. It should be is hashtag 955251, and then I would be the most fashionable guy. There you go.
Well, either that or you look like a prisoner.
I like it. No, I think it is the ultra uber hipness. Here it is, hashtag 955251. That is the hex code for the color of 2015.
Marsala, color of the year.
Marsala. I have a question for you, John. And this is one that when Mickey and I were talking about this morning, and I went online to look it up, there's so much controversy over this question that I knew there was only one person who can give us the definitive answer to the question. Should you refrigerate your butter or not?
Well, that's a good question. I will tell you the approach that you can take. If you don't mind, if you're going to use the butter within a week, you don't have to refrigerate it.
And should it be kept in a crock, as we do?
Well, if you want, that keeps it a little lower than room temperature. There's actually some devices that keeps the butter upside down in a water bath.
Oh, this sounds
that
good.
supposedly does something, but no, you don't. The problem with butter is that it will go rancid like any other oil-based product.
But it takes at least a week. It doesn't.
So you can refrigerate it if you want to prevent it from doing that, but it's actually harder to work with.
When you refrigerate it, the butter actually becomes a destructive tool. You can't. You try to put some butter from the fridge on your bread and on your toast. No, it's going to destroy it and make a hole in it.
What is your temperature of your refrigerator?
I don't know. It's in the butter thing, so you'd think it would.
Well, you're probably using a butter that has a lot of fat content with a high melting point.
Oh well,
if you use it, French butters, generally speaking, or that Irish Gold that you can get at Costco.
I'm sorry, a French butter. You know what? I think we need to have a list.
You can get French butter
of appropriate butters.
Now, Kerry Gold, which is a butter that is an Irish butter that's very popular around the country. You can buy it at most stores, and Costco has a deal on it. Is a very soft butter at refrigerator temperatures, and it wouldn't wreck your toast so much.
Okay, well then that would be
so the butters vary. You get some butters are very hard, and some are softer.
Yes.
So it doesn't make any difference. You do whatever you want.
What do you
I would
do?
leave, if I had that hard butter you're bitching about, I'd leave it out.
Well, we do. I was just asking what you do. Do you leave it out?
Sometimes it depends on how much butter I expect to go through over the week. I generally speak it's in the refrigerator.
Do you plan this in advance?
I'm going to plow through a lot of butter.
Do you plan this in advance? Let's see. It's Sunday night. Let me think.
I'm going to eat a lot of beans
butter
this week.
Butter today.
Let's leave the butter out. It'll be easier to deal with.
Hey, today is National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, December 7th, when we were dragged into World War II. I haven't seen a lot about this on the telescreen today.
No, we're trying to.
Are we trying to forget that, or
I don't know, because we're a military empire. Why would we try to forget that? But we seem to be extolling the virtues of the. I don't know what it is. I don't get it. Maybe they're trying to make it less obvious that we're a military empire. That
right. Well, okay. Well, the president.
So you just no. We're not going to. Otherwise, we're going to have some sort of event every day that was military.
It's funny. I didn't intend.
About the football games, let's play 10 versions of the national anthem.
I didn't intend to get into this early. Maybe I'll ask you if we should do it now or wait. But there was a foreign policy institute seminar that showed up on C-SPAN, and we have Robert Kagan interviewing John McCain. This is almost like the Super Bowl of douchebags, these two guys. And McCain is, he's set to be the number one muckety-muck in the new Senate. And he just doesn't he lays out the whole plan for our military-industrial complex in this session. Do you want to hear this? Should we do this now?
Are you kidding me? Of course I do. I missed this, and I'm very glad you got some clips.
In fact, there's so much that I got 5 clips, and I had to stop. I could do 100 clips from this thing. Here is Robert Kagan. Now, Kagan is, of course, married to Victoria Nuland, who was responsible for the fuck the EU and the Maidan Square and the overthrow of Ukraine.
Right.
These are all neocons, who I think now are neoliberals. Whatever it is, they are always
neocon, neoliberal. It's very similar.
Kagan and his brother Fred, project from New American Century, which was all about the 9/11. Well, they called for a new Pearl Harbor in the PNAC document, if you'll recall.
Yeah, well, they got one.
Yeah, they sure did. So they're all about the rubblization.
Kagan!
And here he is introducing first his buddy, McCain. And just listen to just the camaraderie of douchebaggery.
I'm supposed to introduce Senator McCain. I can't imagine something that's more unnecessary.
But he enjoys it.
but I do enjoy it every time I get a chance.
McCain enjoys it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Whoa! Those guys are having way too much fun.
I can't think of anyone who has devoted himself more to America's interests, America's values, and the values that we share with free peoples all over the world. Obviously in his military service, but also as, I would say, one of those people who genuinely deserves the term statesman.
What?
Statesman.
Statesman.
It gets so good. This is such a mutual jerk off. This thing. It's great. It's great.
Kane is the least partisan person I know.
What? This guy just totally full of crap in this.
I knew you'd love that. He's the most, but he's not partisan at all.
And he's so good looking.
When it comes to American foreign policy, he has strong views, but he voices those views regardless of who is in power. He knows more about the world than I do.
He's responsible for more crap in the world.
And than anybody else I know. He not only knows the world, he knows all the people who are around the world. He travels in a way that makes my head spin. But
In style.
On the American taxpayer's dime.
I'm sure he's traveling in style.
that's all because of his incredible devotion to America and American principles and to the world order that America has upheld since
The New World Order. Thank you.
the Second World War.
Iran.
So it's a great pleasure and honor to have you here, Senator. And as you all know, or should know, Senator McCain in the next Congress is going to be taking the role of chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee.
Woo! There you go. He'll be chairman of the Armed Services Committee.
Yes, that means we're all screwed.
And, of course, there's a couple
More
of...
budget.
Well, there's... First question out of the gate.
What are your top priorities? What things are you going to be focusing on
What could it be? What could the top priority
More
be?
money.
over the next year or two?
Which means what? How do we do more money? We have to?
We'll end the sequestration.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thank all of you for having me today. And these are most interesting times, obviously, and we have a lot to talk about. First, Bob, can I
Jerk you off for a minute.
express my admiration for all the work you have done?
I love your work, man. I really respect what you're doing. It's Hollywood, right? If you're ever in Hollywood and you see two actors meet each other, hey, nice to meet you. Really respect your work, man. Which means fuck you. What it means. I really respect your work.
Over the years, many of you may know the brains of the family resides in his wife, Toria Newland.
Oh, there you go.
Who continues to serve with great distinction under Republican and Democrat administrations alike. A true, really outstanding servant of our foreign policy and our nation. So,
Gonna get us all killed.
Is he talking about the same person that I'm thinking of? Is he talking about this woman?
I'm driving off laughing, this is what I'll say. Fuck the EU.
Hey, hey, fuck the EU. Hey, hey,
Fuck the EU.
that's right.
Fuck the EU.
Hey, hey.
Fuck the EU.
I mean, that is the fine, upstanding person known as Toria Newland. Toria. If you're in the, you call her Toria.
administrations alike. A true, really outstanding
Yes.
servant
Yes.
of our foreign
Yes.
policy.
Yeah, that's how we work with foreign policy. Hey, EU, fuck you. I'm great.
And our nation. So I thank you, Bob. I think the first thing we really need to address is sequestration and the impacts of it.
Thank you.
All right. What would number 2 be on the list, John?
I'll take
for $500.
military budget for $500.
No, we've already done the money. What would the next policy be that is high on the agenda?
We got to deal with Russia.
Well, in a way, but if you take it at a more
How about Iraq?
if you take it at a more meta level, where we can bring in all kinds of money slurping programs that go into
UN.
invisible programs.
I don't know. Hit it.
Cyber.
A lot of my colleagues are old geezers like
Listen to this.
Not cyber.
Listen to what he says. He's going to say, because we're all old and decrepit, we're easy to fool and buy stuff we don't need.
A lot of my colleagues are old geezers like me, and they've never been involved in this aspect of warfare. I know about aircraft carriers.
Turn on a computer.
I know about the F-35. I know about a lot of things. But this cyber issue continues to evolve. It evolves daily or weekly or monthly. And so I would say that cyber is something that we really have to work together on.
Cyber.
Bob Corker, Richard Burr, and I have a very close, and Lindsey Graham have a very close relationship for years.
Listen, these are the guys. Write it down.
Hey, let's make a point of mentioning that Lindsey Graham is so obviously gay. It just baffles me that he hasn't been outed in his very conservative state.
There are entire weeks that go by that I don't think about Lindsey Graham being outed.
Well, I don't like to think about the guy at all. I think he's a douchebag. Yeah. And why McCain and him are so tight, they must have made some sort of a gentleman's agreement.
Let's write these names down, because McCain is now telling us who is going to be running.
Okay, well,
the policy. Here it comes.
Richard Burr.
Bob Corker, Richard Burr. Who's Richard Burr?
Richard Burr?
Yeah. Who's Richard Burr?
Bob Corker, I know him.
Yeah, well, he's a dude. Who's Richard?
Lindsey Graham.
There's another one. Richard Burr. Who's Richard Burr? Senator from North Carolina.
He's from North Carolina,
North Carolina, yeah. Okay.
And I have a very close, and Lindsey Graham.
Oh, almost forgot my boyfriend.
Have a very close
Kelly Ayotte.
No, she's not.
Relationship for years. We have committed.
Huh?
Kelly.
She's not in. She's not in.
To working together. Burr will be intelligence.
Burr will be intelligence. Write it down. Let's look at who's going to be running our intelligence. This guy is Richard Burr. What? The most recent thing he posted on his website: Burr applauds House passage of beach access legislation. Yeah, this is the guy we want doing intelligence. Seems like he's got a lot of important things on his agenda. Okay.
Lindsey will be appropriations.
Lindsey, of course, his bitch will be doing the money. Appropriations is the money guy.
And Corker will be the Foreign Relations Committee.
Whoa! Is this going to be great or what? These are nothing but douchebags.
Well, we got to look into this Burr guy first.
Now we have, let me see.
Because he's doing intelligence, that means he'll be able to lord it over everybody else. Okay, so he's this guy from, this guy. Yeah, I've seen him on the C-SPAN.
He must have something up his sleeve.
He's been a senator since 2005 in North Carolina. Went to Wake Forest. Children Tyler and William Burr.
The Burr family, it goes back to the Civil War. So he has a lineage. And he's been on the Armed Services Committee, Finance, Education and Labor. He supports Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah, he's got all kinds of important things he does. For example, his latest press release in December 4, 2014. U.S. Senator Richard Burr applauds the House passage of H.R. 4435, a bill that includes legislation he authored, known as the Preserving Public Access to Cape Hatteras Beaches.
Yeah, the
Act.
beaches. There you go.
After successful bipartisan negotiations, they finally get down and go to the beach, thanks to this guy.
All right. Now we continue. This is where it got interesting.
Oh, and by the way, I'm looking at his webpage, his Senate webpage, his Senate.gov page, and on his page, there's a picture of him and a picture of some old battleship. It's like there's a military picture on his page. So this guy is
he's a total MIC guy, military industrial complex.
Yeah.
Now here is where McCain really became interesting, as so the main thing he needs to do now that he's going to be in charge of the military industrial complex is he has to look at how the money is spent. The word is, I think, is it procurement? I think it's procurement is the term. And of course, he's going to talk about how it's crazy how these contracts are put together. He will actually say something horrible about his wife in the meantime. He sounds really good and nice. Of course, I'm not buying it. Just listen to this.
I can't go to the American people with a straight face and say we repeal sequestration out without making another run at acquisition reform.
Yeah, acquisition reform. Okay.
Lately, we built an aircraft carrier, my friends, called the Gerald R. Ford. It was a $2.4 billion cost overrun, and it is now having more cost overruns associated with it. I asked the chief of naval operations in a hearing, I said, do you know who's responsible for this? He said, no. He said, no. So now we have everybody's responsible, so nobody's responsible. That's the classic bureaucratic response. We need to fix it.
He's probably pissed off because that was money he wanted in some of his projects.
Yeah.
We need to fix it. Every one of these programs.
I'm sorry?
I mean, he's right.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's no sense of responsibility on any of this stuff.
So he's making some sense.
Go down the list of failed programs, F-35, triple the cost that it was originally estimated. I don't have to tell you. It's got to stop. It's got to stop, and it's got to start with fixed cost contracts. Right now, in all due respect to my friends in the defense industry, they lowball the number so they can get the contract, and then, of course, it escalates and gets higher and higher.
So what I'm thinking he's doing right here is messaging his friends in the defense industry saying, hey, you got to go through me. I think that's his positioning.
No.
Is that what you...
I don't have any thoughts on this, but I wouldn't argue against that possibility.
Let's finish it up.
It's got to stop.
My contractor does the same thing, so I don't understand why.
But if your roof leaks, do you hire a guy to come and fix your roof on a cost-plus contract? My wife has done that, by the way.
Wow. No BJ for you tonight, idiot.
Well,
and then finally,
I don't think those two have been in the same house out of their 7 for the last 20 years.
You don't know, man. You don't know. There are strange combinations.
Go on.
Final piece. Now, I believe he is doing this. He really believes what he is saying here, and I think he is inadvertently explaining how well certainly the American people are controlled by the telescreen as it comes to the convincing of the American people about the danger of ISIS, ISIL, IS, whatever you want to call it, and the campaign that was used to convince everybody that we needed to do something about it. And he has figures, he has data, and of course, in this regard, I'm speaking about the bogative beheading videos, of which at least the ones that the president and Mr. McCain here have deemed as outrageous, that these were fake. These are just not real beheadings. Sure, there's beheadings that take place, but the ones that were presented only in a brief stills and just description, rarely shown at all on television, and even taken off social media and other websites, and all come from the same place, from the Site Intelligence Group, who I believe are probably responsible for producing them. It has worked. This is the campaign, and he's proud of it.
The greatest frustration to me for a long, long time was the carnage and genocide that was taking place in Syria. The pictures smuggled out by Caesar had no effect. I mean,
They just slips that in. Do you remember who Caesar was?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
Caesar was the guy who testified with a hood over his head because he had smuggled out pictures of these of this horrible genocide taking place in Syria, and this was supposed to convince everybody that this was taking place. But the guy wouldn't identify himself. He had this code name Caesar, and he had these pictures with just pictures. It didn't say anything at all. So that was their first try that I guess McCain was a part of.
And genocide that was taking place in Syria, the pictures smuggled out by Caesar had no effect. I mean, it was stunning to me. And
I had it all set up. It was supposed to work.
It was stunning to me that the public doesn't buy this crap with Caesar.
It didn't work with the Caesar bit.
Frustrating.
Maybe they should have changed his name to something other than Caesar.
Yeah, like Deep Throat kind of name is what they should have done. But you're right. Yeah,
Caesar had no effect. I mean, it was stunning stunning to me and frustrating and frankly heartbreaking because I knew these people that were dying.
What? How did he personally know these people who were dying?
Because they were all part of the same actor studio, I guess.
In Syria.
In Syria, sorry.
But the beheadings had a huge effect on American public opinion. You and I could show you a 30-point swing in American public opinion about support for addressing ISIS and the appreciation of the threat we face. Now, whether that should have been the reason or not, it was at significant effect.
Worked.
And I believe that Americans are now much more concerned than they were before that happened. And
hey, look, now, so wait for this transition. So it worked, 30% swing. He can show us numbers. And Americans are much more concerned now. And
so American public opinion is very much leaning towards greater, more significant action to be taken. But the American people need to be told.
Yes, John McCain.
They need to be told what to do.
Told what to do.
That brings me right. I don't know how far you're going to go.
I'm done. Well, I'm kind of
It
done.
brings me to something I did not expect to throw at the beginning of the show by any means.
I know we're going a little fast. I know.
But let me do it anyway.
All right.
There's a lot of clips here. There's 5 of them. You don't have to have them all. Depends on how interested you are in this. But this was off of PBS NewsHour. They had Margaret Warner interviewing some guy who just did a book on Putin and how he uses the media to manipulate the dumb Russian public.
Yeah, and this is the classic where. It's the same thing with Radio Free Liberty and the Voice of America. It really is.
Hello, Kettle. This is the pot calling.
And anyone who doesn't see that we have as many programs, if not more, and better funded than RT.
Well, besides just the RT thing, if you listen to this guy, he is oblivious to what's really going on, which is that the right and the irony is that he even points out, because he worked in the Russian TV business, that the Russians are copying us. They're actually, but he never uses the words I would use, which is trying to play catch up,
right?
In terms of using the media to manipulate the public. But here's the introduction to the whole little segment. I've tried to cut these down as much as I could. This is Putin Russian TV clip.
For many observers, the speech was classic Putin, using television to assert his view of reality to his own people and the world. Putin's use of the medium is the subject of a new book, Nothing is True and Everything is Possible, by Peter Pomerantsev, a Russian-born British writer and television producer. He returned to Moscow to work in the Kremlin's vast television apparatus, creating Russian reality TV shows. Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent Margaret Warner spoke with him yesterday.
Okay.
All right, so they bring this guy on, and he starts telling us, how, and we'll skip 2 and go to 3. He talks about how when the first thing Putin did was actually, this is a good clip because it creates a legend of Putin as some dweeb who didn't know what he was doing, and the B-roll is fantastic. They got these hot Russian women with clipboards and guys with the earpieces talking to themselves and all surrounding Putin, telling him how to talk, telling him how to behave as though he's an idiot. And he's apparently a stooge to the power, some other powers in Russia, and he's just a dupe. But even though they don't quite say that, but play part 2.
So, Peter Pomerantsev, thank you for joining us. You describe television as the nuclear weapon of politics in Russia.
Yes, it takes on, it's at the core of the political system. I mean, you have to imagine a country that is absolutely huge. It's sort of a sixth of the world's landmass.
Stop. Now, imagine him talking about the United States when he's talking about Russia, and you get the exact same message.
Yeah, you can just replace Russia with USA, and it's the same thing.
And it's also sociologically very varied. So you have sort of very contemporary towns like Moscow, and then you have near feudal villages, which have a completely different sense of reality. And the only thing that brings them all together is television. Television is at the core of the present political system.
You say, now, at the center of all of this is...
Is this Amy Goodman?
No. This is the news hour. This is PBS.
PBS.
This is Margaret Warner.
Is she going? This is so frightening.
At somebody,
how could this happen? How could an entire country be enslaved politically to the television? How could that ever take place?
Yes.
Presented himself as performance artist. What do you mean?
Putin was no one. He was this grey guy. Famous for wearing horrible suits wherever he went. Nobody would notice him in meetings. He was a no one. And they took him and they created him as people we know today, were oligarchs who control TV. And PR TV producer guys who are very close to the KGB. It's this incredible mix of secret services and television producers. And they made him into sort of a hero for all seasons. So he could be the president who was the ideal lover, the ideal macho guy, the ideal businessman. And this was all done through television. And the first thing that Vladimir Putin did in 2000 when he came to power was to get rid of the oligarchs who control television and take it over.
This is Peter Pomerantsev?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We talked about this guy.
I think some time ago, yeah, and I don't remember the background.
I think it was a white paper.
He's not. I'm guessing State Department. It's got written all over this report. But it's still every single analysis that he's doing applies more to us than it does to him, to Putin. And it's like, again, it's all I see is Putin trying to play catch up.
Right down to the hot women.
Yeah, and the joke of it is that this guy, this is the most insincere possible report and book and analysis. Do they really expect the public to buy this without seeing it in themselves? The same exact model.
Let me think. Yes.
Is that the end of clip 2?
Yes. Yeah. Let me just say, John, this is more proof that we can actually have this be broadcast on television saying that those evil Russians, certainly Putin, are using the telescreens to control the people, where our people, instead of once in a while protesting about 28 suspected militants who are really innocent people being killed for every drone attack. No one's protesting that. We're all going to do a die-in for a local issue in Ferguson or New York, because the telescreen is telling you to do it.
Yes,
so apparently. So there's no way back. Of course, we are just going to tell everybody, you will believe that the Russians are using television for propaganda, and this is no propaganda.
Exactly, and it gets actually better in the next 2 clips, so play 3.
And at a very young age, from London, you got a chance to get in on the inside. You described this one organization that essentially, you said, controls everything on television, entertainment and news.
That place is actually the Kremlin. There was always a telephone to all the major TV channels, but all kind of coordinated by the Kremlin itself. But
you started out as a producer for one of the networks in that big apparatus called TNT, doing reality shows. It sounds harmless, sounds apolitical enough.
Around 2000, TV started making a lot of money, and they wanted to get producers from the West to come and make their version of The Apprentice or Housewives of New York. And that's why they needed people like me. You have to understand, the Kremlin is very, very aware that they have to make TV entertaining nowadays. Their aim is to kind of synthesize political manipulation and entertainment. And so very soon I found that even entertainment had this sort of very insidious element of social control.
Okay. Here's the funny thing, John. This is the guy we talked about his report, The Menace of Unreality, How the Kremlin Weaponizes Information, Culture, and Money. And he is from the Institute of Modern Russia, which is by itself directly connected to the United States State Department.
Yes.
Okay. As long as we all see the craziness of it.
It's outrageous, and especially since the last few shows we had that clip of that agent provocateur saying, "Well, we're slipping this information into the scripts in Hollywood. We've got 300, this and that," and then we had the clip of CO2 turning into poison gas. All entertainment, designed for social control, which is what we do best.
Shall I give you a new one that I was just given? Social control, quickie, little intermezzo. From the television show Elementary, which I do not watch.
To hand off to you. He kept the real one for himself, this real one. Now, this map has traces of mold on it, which prove it was in a drawer in the 39th Street Library for decades. It also has your fingerprints all over it.
I'm guessing you fly a lot, because the Trusted Traveler program you gave your prints to, it interfaces with our system.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that's bull crap.
Yeah, when you put your finger on that. Yeah, checked, pass, go through. Trusted Traveler program. Okay.
Yeah, it never ends. Well, we go to part 4, where they use a new word to describe the public. By the way, this part 4 is the reason, is very much like what McCain said.
Okay. Politics has become like a reality show. So you have debates on Russian TV. They're completely sort of scripted from the Kremlin. So you have a puppet right-wing opposition, a puppet left opposition. They kind of shout at each other, and the result is to make you feel, oh my God, Putin is in the middle, and kind of let's have Putin instead. The opposition's mad. People become very malleable. The population becomes sort of almost incapable of critical analysis. So that's a much sort of deeper form of manipulation.
This has much broader international implications. This isn't just a problem for Russia.
Well, increasingly, the Kremlin has been thinking about information in terms of basically as a weapon, weaponized information. It's a tool to distract, demoralize the enemy, to be used as a decoy in a military operation. So now you have a huge international sort of broadcasting arm being set up by the Kremlin, whose aim is really to sort of do psychological operations against Russia's enemies, whether that's Ukraine or increasingly the West.
And we've certainly seen it play out in Ukraine.
Well, in Ukraine, it's been total. I mean, that's really been the new thing about this war in Ukraine. So there's a small military operation, covert mainly, and 98% propaganda.
That is so great. Where we literally have our stooges from the State Department being given citizenship in Ukraine to run the finances as finance minister. Yet, oh yes, horrible Russia is all over that propaganda in Ukraine. Man, oh man.
It's complete. They've really done the job there.
Is it, you know, the adage, as long as the lie is big enough and you keep repeating it often enough, it becomes true?
Well, that plays out constantly, as we've noticed in the last 7 years of this show.
I want you to finish these clips, and then I have something.
This is the last one. Now, here's what happens. Now, the guy completely loses track of reality here, and then he creates nonsense, which he then throws into our propaganda machine so everyone could go, oh, that explains it all. This explains it all. This explains why Putin's so popular. And it's kind of a non sequitur, but when I heard this, I went, oh, brother, this is ridiculous.
The idea of freedom of information, which is something that we value very much, to do disinformation. Let's say Russia today, after the MH17 crash, spits out tens of conspiracy theories about why it might have happened. The idea that the Ukrainians thought it was President Putin's personal plane and they shut it down. You know, they're not doing this out of a search for truth. They're not doing this out of a passion for investigative journalism. They're doing this to kind of muddy the water as quickly as possible.
Now, one of the great mysteries in the West is why, as the sanctions tighten around Russia, as oil prices drop, as Russia's headed into recession next year, Putin remains wildly popular.
In Russia, love is always very close to fear. So when 84% of Russians say they love Vladimir Putin, they might almost be saying that they fear him.
Wow. Now, this is good. This is very, very good.
What bullcrap. This is great.
Let's look at a couple of ancillary issues surrounding this. One, which you put in the newsletter, was this meeting between the president of France, François Hollande, and Vladimir Putin. And they just were hanging out, meeting together in Moscow. And I picked up a document here. This is the official site of the president of Russia, and they have a transcript of the conversation, the public conversation that François Hollande and Vladimir Putin had. And you have to listen to this. So here, welcome. Says Vladimir says, President, colleagues, thank you for taking time on your way back from Australia. Very happy to see you. And Hollande says, Mr. President, thank you for the welcome. I was just flying over Moscow when I decided to make a stop here to discuss with you the important issues concerning the Ukrainian crisis. Now, let me get this straight. He's flying in his jet. Hey, what's that down there? That, Mr. President, is Russia. Take me down. Let me land here. He's really saying, I thought, why don't you stop off? We believe that Russia and France can find necessary solutions to the issues we have. And Putin says, you were the initiator of the meeting in Normandy in order to solve the problems you just mentioned. And Hollande says, yes, I would like to thank you for finding the time to meet with me today. I know it was not planned in advance. Again, he just dropped in. I understand we have very little time. I heard your address several hours ago. I think we need to get rid of the barriers and the walls that might divide us. And then there's the journalists. And this, by the way, is 2 documents that were sent in by, there he is again, Brian the Gay Crusader, who has now become the Russian Bureau of the No Agenda Global Intelligence Network. And he has some very good pieces there marked up about, amongst other things, the Mistral deal. And I think this is what a lot of this is about.
Make him bureau chief.
He's, of course, station chief, I think is what we should call him.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it right.
Station chief. Now, the biggest problem with the EU and with Russia is this French deal for 2 Mistral battleships, or are they aircraft? I think battleships.
No, they're aircraft carriers.
Aircraft carriers.
They're actually helicopter carriers, in fact.
So listen to this Q&A with Vladimir Putin. Question from the press was question obviously from the press who has a gun to his head to ask these questions clearly because it's all puppet theater. Was Ukraine the only subject discussed today? Answer from the president: no. We also discussed bilateral relations, settlement in Syria, Iran's nuclear program. We discussed a whole bunch of topics, so the meeting was very constructive and substantive. Question, Mr. President, did you discuss the Mistral deal? Vladimir Putin: no, we didn't discuss it, didn't even mention it. There's a contract, a legal document. We proceed from the fact that it will be fulfilled. I didn't ask questions, and President Hollande said nothing about it. But if it is not fulfilled, we will have no special claims. Of course, we expect to get back the money we paid under the contract, but otherwise, the situation on this issue may develop, and we will treat it with understanding. And this folds into a House resolution that was passed this week, December 4th, House Resolution 758. And this might as well be called the "fuck Russia, we're going to kill everybody" resolution. That didn't sound right in the House, but so resolutions really don't mean that much. But it's filled with at least, how many pages is this thing? It's like 30 pages. 19, I'm sorry. It's filled with a lot of the whereas. So whereas the Russian Federation has subjected Ukraine to a campaign of political, economic, military aggression. Whereas I'll just pick up a couple of the whereases. And this comes back to if you tell the lie and it's big enough and you repeat it often enough, it becomes fact. So this is a resolution, which means it is resolved, it is agreed. Doesn't mean much at this point, but is agreed to by the House of Representatives, and I believe something similar will be agreed to by the Senate. Whereas Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, a civil airliner, was destroyed by a missile fired by Russian-backed separatist forces in eastern Ukraine, resulting in the loss of 298 innocent lives. Now,
how did that become a fact?
Well, this is not discussed. Whereas the Russian Federation has protected the Assad regime and backed its brutal assault against the Syrian people. These are now accepted as fact. Whereas France agreed to sell the Russian Federation 2 Mistral-class amphibious assault ships in 2011 for $1.7 billion. Whereas Russian possession of these ships would be a destabilizing addition to the Russian military, which would likely have boosted its ability to invade Crimea.
Was this resolution written up or passed before or after Hollande dropped in?
I think one day before. When did Hollande visit? Let me see. I think
it was just like yesterday, the day before.
So this would be Wednesday. So it's pretty much on almost the same day, depending on time zone.
Probably the French intelligence would know about this. This came up. Now all of a sudden this deal. The French need this money.
Well, listen. The
deal is going to be queered. So that Hollande went in there, and they didn't talk about it, but they made this. There was a friendly visit for a reason.
Well, so let's continue the document, and then we find out. So Putin is saying, well, we have a deal. We got a contract. If you want to break the deal, you got to give us our money back, and screw you with your ships. Whereas, given the Russian invasion of sovereign territory of the Republic of Ukraine and Crimea and elsewhere, and its dangerous behavior throughout the region, France decided to suspend delivery of the Mistral-class warships to the Russian Federation. And here it comes. Whereas purchase of the 2 Mistral-class warships by North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries, i.e. NATO, would expand NATO's capabilities, resolve France's legitimate concern over the cost of the ships, and eliminate a potential threat to countries in Eastern Europe. Bingo, boom, shakalaka. Isn't that nice? We'll just have NATO buy them. Yeah.
Brother.
Whereas, another one of these big...
What kind of businessmen are we?
Indian givers. Whereas the Russian Federation...
Note on that, by the way.
Yeah,
go on.
Whereas, here's another one of these fine ones, which we know it did not work this way. Whereas the Russian Federation invaded the Republic of Georgia in August 2008, continues to station military forces in the region of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, and is implementing measures intended to progressively integrate those regions into the Russian Federation, including by signing a treaty between Georgia's Abkhazia region and the Russian Federation on November 24, 2014. This is not entirely correct, as we know. The aggression came from Georgia first, before Russia retaliated. But now we have it just in this resolution, and it's fact. Now, there's some other things to look out for on the horizon. Whereas the Russian Federation continues to station military forces in the Transnistria region of Moldova in violation of the express will of the government of Moldova and of the OSCE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So Moldova would be on deck, I would say. This is my favorite. Whereas on November 11, 2014, the commander, U.S. European Command and Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, General Breedlove, stated that Russian forces capable of being nuclear are being moved to the Crimea Peninsula. Capable. Yeah.
Anything they do, they're capable.
Here's another. Whereas, according to reports, the government of the Russian Federation has repeatedly engaged in the infiltration of and attacks on computer networks of the United States government, as well as individuals and private entities for the purpose of illicitly acquiring information and disrupting operations, including by supporting Russian individuals and entities engaged in these actions. Accusing us, Russia, blatantly of committing cyber attacks, where so far the only admitted cyber attack is Stuxnet, which was ours.
Whereas also that newer one, which was also ours.
Whereas the political, military, and economic aggression against Ukraine and other countries by the Russian Federation underscores the enduring importance of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, as the cornerstone of collective Euro-Atlantic defense. And they just have to bring this up. Whereas the United States reaffirms its obligations under the North Atlantic Treaty, especially Article 5, which states that an armed attack against one or more of the treaty signatories shall be considered an attack against them all. This is just sad, man. Sad. This is what our government is up to.
Part of there's 2 games or 3 games going on at the same time. I should mention that there was, in fact, I found out about this yesterday, that I guess somebody stole the electronics out of the Mistral specific. There's a bunch of gear in that.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, really? They stole it, and the French are blaming the Russians for stealing the gear, which makes no sense if the Russians are going to get the I think there are intelligence people took the gear so they can get the encryption part of it figured out. So when the gear goes back in, whether it goes to Russia or NATO, we'll be able to de-encrypt any communications going on or off those boats.
Of course. Like the Russians wouldn't put something in there that was their own.
And so you end up with this interesting situation. Now, I got to...
Do you want more of these talking points, or do you just want to... There's a couple more we might want to mention.
I want to throw in a little obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, we've talked on this show numerous times about how anyone tries to... Gaddafi decides he wants to go with some new methodology for...
The gold dinar.
Yeah, the dinar thing. And he's dead. And there's other guys...
Saddam Hussein wanted to trade oil in euros.
Yeah, and he's dead.
Bad idea. Yeah.
Well, the Russians have never been overt about this, but there was a very interesting little back and forth on Max Kaiser's show, which is not. It's Max Kaiser. It's just Max Kaiser. But this little, and I had to cut this way down because they started off about the surging dollar and how, and he's talking to a gold bug. Everything's gold.
Yeah.
But they brought this little issue up. This is the Russian energy and gold clip. Listen to this.
You know, there was a war game of the Defense Department at the Johns Hopkins University's Institute of Applied Sciences a few years ago. Jim Rickards participated in that war game. He played the Russian hand in that war game. He postulated that the Russians could basically control the world financial system if they simply would require gold in payment for their energy exports. That card is yet to be played.
Let me jump in here for a second. You say if they required gold in payment for their energy exports. It was recently reported that the dollar volume of Russia's gold exports one recent month, was equivalent to the amount of gold that they imported. Haven't they, in fact, gone on to a de facto gold for energy repayment system right now?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they have under the table. I've read that the Russians.
But if you look those two numbers up, they're equivalent. So isn't that saying, and by proxy, they haven't made that statement overtly?
It's possible.
Well, that would make sense then. Why Germany, the Netherlands, now Switzerland, of course, now Belgium, all are repatriating their gold, and of course, Germany was given nothing.
Right, that's a good one.
Well, now screw you, Germany, and Belgium being the most recent one to say, oh yeah, we're going to repatriate They have a lot of gold, by the way, Belgium, more than I expected, and they're saying we want it back from the Fed. How much is it here? 122.5 tons.
So
that was the Netherlands. Yeah, 227 tons of gold for Belgium, just by itself.
Well, if the war game is correct, and then they played it out, and this is what they determined, and then we have this coincidence that Max Kaiser discovered about the gold going in and out, being equal, equivalent of the energy.
Yeah.
This could be the basis for the whole thing.
It would make a lot of sense, and it would make sense that these European countries in particular are saying, yeah, we want some of that back right now as a hedge in case Russia really starts to do this. And Russia's in the catbird seat, as an expression of old. Totally. And in fact, Juncker the Drunker came out, and we might as well go through all of this now, where Putin has said, oh, you know what? Screw y'all. Bulgaria, you can't do the South Stream. Now, Bulgaria was visited in June by John McCain, June 8th.
Oh.
He visited Sofia and bluntly warned Prime Minister Orosharki over the danger of proceeding with South Stream. And you'll recall there was a run on 2 different banks. This was total blackmail, financial blackmail against Bulgaria. Bulgaria really could not comply with the deal that Russia wanted. And then Vladimir Putin, by himself perhaps or whatever, said, you know what? Now, screw you guys. Then we just won't do it. We'll send it into Turkey. We'll make a new energy hub. Well, this, I think, really screwed everybody up. And here's Juncker. He comes out to talk about it. Jean-Claude Juncker, but I call him Juncker the Drunker. And just to listen what kind of an incredible douchebag this guy is, he starts talking, and he doesn't feel like it's quiet enough. So he's going to start whistling at people and waving his hands for them to shut up.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs.
I have a hangover from the whiskey.
I had the great pleasure to receive at the...
You should see this video. You know, he's just, hey, shut the fuck up. And here is his explanation about South Stream and how, no. This is not over. No, we will fix this. We will take care of our friends in Bulgaria to make sure South Stream happens because we don't want to be freezing.
We are here to help our Bulgarian family members.
Now you're family members. Whenever Juncker comes and says he's a family member, you should put a cork in your butthole.
We'll make sure that EU funds are relaunched and used to the full in solidarity with Bulgaria, and Bulgaria will do its best to use them to stimulate growth and create jobs and improve the lives of Bulgarians.
Now, you recall that Juncker's main mission, his so-called third leg of the European Union, is his 350 billion euro fund, which he's raising with 6 billion, and somehow that becomes 350 billion with his magic pyramid trick. And that will be used for infrastructure. Now we know why it's there. To help, among other things, Bulgaria. And it'll probably cost about $6 billion for Bulgaria to get this going, which I guess maybe that'll be the multiplier for all of this big fund that he has in mind.
People. Energy matters are a matter of common concern to all Europeans. Bulgaria is not alone, and the Commission and the European Union are not observers. We are with Bulgaria in these difficult times. We want energy to flow to Bulgaria and to the whole of Europe, and will not accept any blackmailing on energy matters.
Now, he's not even necessarily implying Russia's blackmailing.
No, McCain.
Yes. And McCain was doing it because he wanted the Nabucco pipeline to be used, which is now pretty much dead in the water. But that's his guys, Azerbaijan and Tajikistan and everything coming through Georgia, everything that they've been owning, they've been running. Nabucco pipeline was what it was supposed to be all about, and that's why he went into blatantly blackmail the Bulgarian prime minister.
Bulgaria is not a small country. Bulgaria is a great nation, and it has the whole of Europe behind it. We'll be working closely together on the investment plan I presented recently to ensure that energy interconnections are a key element in the new wave of investments of the 315 billion euro we want to trigger. As regards South Stream, the European Union and Bulgaria are working together to solve the outstanding issues. These outstanding issues are not insurmountable. We should do what is best for Bulgaria and thus best for Europe. Boyko and myself will find a solution together. South Stream can be built. The conditions have been clear since a long time. There is nothing new. The ball is in the court of Russia. We are ready, and preparatory works are on the way.
Unbelievable. It's like laying on your back with your legs in the air. Oh, Putin, don't do that, please. Bring in South Stream. And it's our doing once again. Well, not our doing, specifically John McCain's doing.
McCain's like, it seems to me that we don't have a united foreign policy, which is everyone's always believed that of all the weaknesses Obama has, foreign policy is at the top of the list.
Right.
And it's just like you allow all these freelancers. I mean, McCain's a freelancer. Let's face it; he's been one for years. He does his own thing based on his own needs. Is what he expects to get out of it.
He's the maverick.
He doesn't care about the country.
No, he's the maverick.
And then you got the Kagans who are like all of a sudden taking over the State Department, doing things their way, while there's idiots Valerie Jarrett and those people in the White House who supposedly run everything in the Defense Department don't seem to have a clue about what's going on at the State Department.
No.
In fact, we go back to Hillary and their botched, whoever came up with the botching the Benghazi operation at the same time a CIA thing's going on. They can't even communicate that much. It's just like a joke.
Yeah. And it's sad. And if I were Putin, I'd be like, screw it. Yeah. The whole Turkey idea is great.
Actually, the Turkey idea may be better for him.
Hell yeah. He gets to pass it on through Greece, which he already owns. They've got the port of Ceyhan for the oil already set up. Forget just the gas. Turkey is a perfect ally for him. And we've just been letting Turkey do whatever they want to do.
And it's already been shown that Erdogan can stave off one of our attempts to overthrow him. They had that crazy
Gulen.
Rights.
Yeah, Gulen.
Yeah. And the Gulen guy's no good.
No good.
And so now there's a little rearranging going on, a little deck chair rearranging going on before the...
Let me give you a couple more pieces from this House resolution, just so you know what else we're working on. Whereas the Russian Federation is continuing to use its supply of energy as a means of political and economic coercion against Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, and other European countries, the United States strongly supports energy diversification initiatives in Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, and other European countries to reduce the ability of the Russian Federation to use its supply of energy for political and economic coercion, which would be use of gold, no longer use of American dollars, petrodollar, including the development of domestic sources of energy, increased efficiency, and substitute Russian energy sources with imports from other countries. Hey, over here, look at us. Whereas the Russian Federation continues to conduct an aggressive propaganda effort in Ukraine, in which false information is used to subvert the authority of the legitimate national government, undermine stability, promote ethnic dissension, and incite violence. This is exactly what is happening here. Promote ethnic. How about racial dissension? Incite violence. It's a global program. Whereas the Russian Federation has expanded the presence of its state-sponsored media and national language across Central and Western Europe with the intent of using news and information to distort public opinion and obscure Russian political economic influence in Europe. This is a campaign, John, between the NewsHour on PBS, between the document from this jabroni who was on PBS, and now this House resolution. It's all written by the same people.
It's all the same.
It's the same thing.
Whereas it's a 1, 2, 3 punch.
Whereas expanded efforts by United States international broadcasting across all media in the Russian and Ukrainian languages are needed to counter Russian propaganda and to provide the people of Ukraine and the surrounding regions with access to credible and balanced information. I'm thinking Bill O'Reilly is going to be broadcasting in Russia.
Perfect.
Whereas the Voice of America and Radio Free Europe / Radio Liberty Incorporated continue to present a minority market share in Ukraine and other region states with significant ethno-linguistic Russian populations. This, of course, all needs to be expanded. Whereas the United States International Programming to Ukraine and Neighboring Regions Act of 2014 requires the Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Incorporated, to provide programming content to target populations in Ukraine and Moldova 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including at least 8 weekly hours of total original video and television content and 14 weekly hours of total audio content, while expanding cooperation with local media outlets and deploying greater content through multimedia platforms and mobile devices. Bonanza!
For someone.
We got to create some podcasts for these guys. They need it. Then we have the resolve portion. I'll be done with this. So you have all this whereas, fraudulent, Putin sucks. Resolved. The House of Representatives strongly supports the efforts by President Poroshenko and the people of Ukraine to establish a lasting peace in their country. Sure. Adoption of policies to reduce the ability of Russian Federation to use energy exports and trade barriers as weapons, to apply economic and political pressure, and to end interference by the Russian Federation in the internal affairs of Ukraine. Of course, it's okay for us to literally be running the internal affairs of Ukraine. Literally running them.
Yes. Good work. Oh, those nasty Russians. Meanwhile, us, 10,000 miles away, we'll run the place for you just to keep it safe.
Condemns the continued political, economic, military aggression by the Russian Federation, states that the military intervention by the Russian Federation in Ukraine is a breach of its obligations on the United Nations Charter, clear violation of each of the 10 principles of the 1975 Helsinki Accords, in violation of the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, poses a threat to international peace and security, and calls on the Russian Federation to reverse its illegal annexation of Crimea, to end its support of the conditions of the Black Sea Fleet stationing in the territory. Just go, just take your penis and go away, is what is being said here. It calls on the President of the United States to cooperate with United States allies and partners in Europe and other countries around the world to impose visa bans, targeted asset freezes, sectoral sanctions, and other measures on the Russian Federation and its leadership with the goal of compelling it to end its violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, to remove its military forces and equipment from Ukrainian territory, and to end its support of separatist and paramilitary forces. And then finally, Congress calls on the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, allies, and United States partners in Europe and other nations around the world to suspend all military cooperation with Russia, including prohibiting the sale to the Russian government of lethal and non-lethal military equipment. We're looking at you, France. And, reaffirms the commitment of the United States to its obligations on the North Atlantic Treaty, especially Article 5, and calls on all alliance member states to provide their full share of the resources needed to ensure their collective defense. Hey, pay up, you deadbeat Euros. And also welcomes the decision by France to suspend delivery of the Mistral-class warship, and urges the United States, France, NATO, and other partners to engage in consultations and consider all alternative acquisition options for such warships that would not include transfer of the ships to the Russian Federation. It's a document that it's just one of those you want to tuck it away, because you can tick all the boxes off as they come by. And we just have a bunch of war-hungry a-holes in the House of Representatives, at least, who have passed this resolution. And I find it outrageous what is being said here. Not only just some of the facts that are being stated, which I think are dubious, but literally calling Russia propagandist while putting black and white that we need to propagandize back with the number of hours we're going to be doing it. It should have put in there, and we will have hot chicks with dynamite legs presenting this information.
Well, if it's a matter of the Russians doing a end run with the gold for oil aspect based on this Johns Hopkins war game, this is what we have to do.
Of course, it's a big deal. And I think
because we can't let the Russians, screw the world economy up by all of a sudden starting to lord it over people. And we'll see what happens. I mean, this is going to be fun to watch, and we're the only show that's actually following it from that
perspective,
at a deeper than superficial level. And when you have the news hours just coming out,
bringing the propagandist guy from the State Department
on, propaganda guy from the State Department, and have him spew bull crap. That it's just nonsense. Which is part of it to get the American public so they'll get behind all this, and you just hate the Russians, which I guess the public can get into hate real easy. They do it with football games.
But we hate our own cops right now. We hate ourselves.
We hate the cops. We hate Whitey.
I'm white. I hate myself. I hate privilege. I hate everything. Just hate myself.
Privilege white jerk.
I hate myself. Just hate myself. Well, why don't we recognize that I appreciate your courage and want to say in the morning to you, John C. Dvorak.
So apparently somebody sent in a photo of a London bus with an "In the Morning" bumper sticker on it.
Really?
It wasn't shopped.
Oh, I didn't see that. Cool.
We need more of those bumper stickers out there. I think Eric still has some. Anyway, in the morning to you, Adam Curry. In the morning to all ships at sea, by the way. Also the boots on the ground, the feet in the air, the subs in the water, and all the dames and all the knights out there.
And in the morning to everybody in the chat room with the stream blaring out. Let me check right now. What do we have? I can tell you we have 824 people on the streams, and probably close to that in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Thank you very much to our artists. Now, we used art for episode 675 from someone who I do not believe has been credited yet, Mats Kjesrud. And I believe this was an evergreen. Was it not, John, that we used here?
Yes, it was an evergreen because the art has been coming up short, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it.
There seems there may be some issues, some error. I'm getting information from some producers who are saying that when they try to upload, they get an error and they haven't been able to upload. So people may be just falling off The Edge.
Yeah, we'll get this worked out.
We will. But we really appreciate this work that our artists do. And we know that good art equals good donations. Why? Not sure, but it is a fact. So
well, it didn't equal that many good donations, except the top-heavy ones. We have a lot of high-end or more than $200 donations, and very few under that. Actually, it's very sketchy. But let's thank the people that came in for executive and associate executive producerships, starting with Sir GQ with $450.69. I believe this came in over the
wire, I believe.
Wire. Mm-hmm. This makes me a baron, like to be Sir GQ, Baron of Maryland. Please don't give out my real name or location. Somewhere in Maryland, I'm guessing. But mention that all those who enter my barony and are in the Fort Meade area.
Just don't mention the location.
I'm guessing he's in the Fort Meade area.
Maybe, around there.
TDY or otherwise are welcome to my hospitality. If you receive any requests, forward my information to whomever contacts you, if anyone actually does. I'd also like to swear allegiance to my Lord Sir David Foley, Grand Duke of the USA.
Foley!
Very good.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to do that. Please give the two of you and Grand Duke Sir David Foley some karma as you deserve it. Keep up the great work, Nate, Sir GQ.
Oh, that's very cool.
Foley!
You've got karma.
Thank you very much, Sir GQ. And I know Sir GQ, and he could be in GQ. He's a handsome-looking man.
Yeah. Simon, I guess it's Tones, Toens, in San Francisco, California.
I would say Tones sounds about right.
Tones, 43210. Hi, Adam and John. I've been listening for about 2 years, but never donated. This donation is long overdue. Please keep up the great work. Regards, Simon. Please de-douche me. Send me some karma. P.S. Adam, he's in, that's interesting. He's in Japan. Yeah. He's actually in Japan.
Yes.
Kyoto. So if you go there, you'll be glad to see you. Well, he says me too, but he doesn't think I'm going to go ever.
I am planning on going with Christina sometime in the new year. So yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You've been de-douched. You've got karma.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Good old Judy Schwartz.
By the way, did you see the number? It's 43210. I like that. It's a reverse of one of your favorite numbers. 43210.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. Also, it was an homage to the 432 chip.
There you go.
Which they sold 10 of. It all makes sense. Judy Schwartz in Bern, Texas.
Bernie.
I don't know why I keep saying Bern.
Because
it looks like Bern. Yeah. Bernie, Texas. You can correct me. $350. Just topped off my Dame donation to equal $1,000 after all these years. I want to thank you and John for all the hard work, you and the wonderful ability to keep it fresh. Please give me the title Dame of Bernie Village.
All right.
Ask John to name a bottle of his favorite port wine to my knighting ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Add some health karma for my husband, who I'm slowly introducing to the enlightenment of y'all. He's the original hard-headed German.
Can you give me a port to add, the name of your favorite port to add to the roundtable rewards?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's
just one name is fine. John.
Fonseca is an easy one to pronounce.
What is it?
Fonseca. Good port.
Fonseca?
Oh, wait, let's change it to Taylor's.
Taylor's.
Yeah, that's the better product.
Okay, got it. It is in, and we shall
Taylor's port.
Add that to. And
Taylor's vintage port, make it.
Okay.
So it's
Taylor's vintage port.
Vintage port. Okay, Ted.
Wait. She needs a karma. Does she not?
You didn't give her something.
Yeah, health karma for a husband, I believe.
You've got karma.
I want to make sure we get everything down, man. Can't be skipping over
Ted
stuff.
Eric in Vancouver. Vancouver, Washington, so it's pronounced differently. It's Vancouver, Washington, and Vancouver, Canada. 333.3. And what always strikes me as interesting is that Vancouver, Washington is nowhere near Vancouver. You'd think it'd be near each other because same name. On one side of the border is Vancouver.
Nowhere near it.
And the other side, Vancouver, Washington is by Portland.
Yeah.
I need a de-douching after being called out by Tyler Fay a couple of weeks ago. We're proof that the formula works. Which is what? Calling out people as douchebags?
Propagating the formula. Yeah, the formula
I
works.
encourage all citizens to hit each other in the mouths and call each other douchebags for the good of the nation. I also encourage listeners who are smarter than I am to donate to the No Agenda show, to the No Agenda Wiki, with summaries of No Agenda viewpoints on various topics like net neutrality, so that the dilettantes like myself can argue with people at dinner parties. To close, I'd like to jingle all the way into the Christmas spirit with an Obama Biden Schwarzenegger cookie clip I sent Adam.
And Tyler Fay is turning 32 on this Sunday, so that will be on the list.
I'm getting a cookie. Well, those are 2 cookies, so why don't you give me one of those cookies? Well, I don't know. You want both? We do one package. It's one package, man. I'm not giving you my cookie.
Put that cookie down now!
You've got karma.
Hey, whatever you want.
Okay.
We'll do it.
People are sending in their own clips to be played.
And I actually had it ready to play. The system, it works. The circle is round.
Yeah, sometimes. Patricia Hunt Worthington in Miami, Florida, sunny Miami, $250. She sent in a
home of Art Basel.
She sent in a handwritten note and then also a typed note. And I'll read from the typed. The note came on a card, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Which is a very pretty card and with some sort of symbolic meaning she discusses. To the fearsome twosome, I've been listening since March, heard John on Twitch, and just kept trying to figure out what the No Agenda show was. I bought a Roku 3 based on his comments on Twit, and then thought I could find the NAS on the Roku as a TV show. I put in the name, and it shows up on the list of programs I selected, but, of course, I never saw anything. I thought I was doing something wrong. Eventually, I figured out it was merely I figured it out and mostly listen now on Stitcher while I'm at the gym. Sometimes I just sit home and listen. It took a while to get used to the entertainment element of the show, but now I'm all in.
It took a while to figure out it was really hilariously funny.
I watch almost no news anymore, but do peruse the Wall Street Journal. I've ordered 3 copies of Pot Shards to spread the message.
That's great.
That's nice.
That's very cool.
My 77th birthday is coming up on the 6th. Now, I like that fact that she's 77 and she's fooling around with the Roku and the Stitcher and
well,
and at the gym.
That's hope for you, my friend.
Yes, absolutely.
At the gym. At the gym.
I'll be at the gym.
The only thing I did, the gym part I can't see.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to. Yeah, you can say one more thing like that. I'm gonna have I got a spinners clip for you.
Okay.
My 77th birthday is coming up on the 6th. On the 6th. Oh, you better put her on the list then.
Oh, hold on a second. Patricia Hurt Worthington. Is it her 70? What?
77.
77. Hold on. Put it in.
You have the widest range of listeners. The demo is just completely off the charts.
You could not find advertisers for this show.
No, because we have everything from high school kids, lots of them, to 70, 80-year-olds.
When is her birthday?
The 6th.
So it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
It's an auspicious day as it is St. Nicholas Day, and I have some Dutch and German heritage. I want to spread the No Agenda message and ask for karma for grandson Nicholas and job karma for my adult children and spouses. Of course, I would love a happy birthday to me and John's beef bourguignon recipe. Keep on trucking through the minefield that has become the daily grind. Thank you for all your work.
It is a depression. What is it? We had a name for it.
Depression stew?
Yeah, and I think I've published it somewhere. I'll put it in the show notes to make sure you have
put
that.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
There you go. Thank you very much, Patricia.
And I'll actually be making depression stew tonight, as a matter of fact.
I think if you Google, but that would be a term for searching, do depression, I think it was slave stew.
Depression slave stew or something like that.
No, here it is. First hit on Google. Double dip depression slave stew. First hit. Top of the list.
Yeah, at least they're doing their job.
Yeah. Yeah.
As well they should.
I'm going to put that in the show notes right now, even though it is the top hit. So when you're depressed and you're a slave and you're hungry,
And it's tasty.
It's super tasty.
Gotta make sure to cook it long enough. So that's the problem people have when they make stew. They don't cook it long enough. You got to cook until it actually, and you can use the cheapest, absolutely go to Costco and get the cheapest giant roast you can find. It's cheaper than stew meat. Yeah. The stew meat's like $8 a pound, and you can buy this giant roast with no bone in it for like $2.30, $3 a pound. And you just chop that into little chunks, and you cook it for 3 to 4 hours, and it becomes very tender.
In fact, if you look at the recipe, 5 pounds of meat, chuck steaks, 1.5 cubes, cheap, is what it says right here in the directions.
Yeah, and a chuck steak is actually is a step up from the cheapest cut you can get.
Now, if you want to make Adam's version, I just want to remind everyone what happened. John had recommended a wine to drink with the stew, a Côte du Rhône 2009, 10, or 11, and I, by accident, wound up pouring that wine into the stew instead of the wine I was supposed to pour into it.
Well, you always want to cook with a quality wine because it just concentrates its flavors. If it's crappy, then it'll just taste concentrated crap.
Right. All right, onward.
Sir Scott Spencer in Dawsonville, Georgia, 23456. You don't have to read any of this. I had a goal of making Barron this year, and this donation should make it. For my territory, I'd like to claim the North Georgia mountains, and I don't want Atlanta. John, I've told you before about the award-winning Georgia wines. Please look it up, GeorgiaWine.com, Georgia Wineries. All I ask is the Dr. Kiki Science Karma because it's cold as hell here. Some Sharpton's also fun, too. Black Knight Scott.
Okay. Dr. Kiki, and he wants some, let me see. Oh, something went horribly wrong here. Sorry. And a Sharpton thing? What do we have for Sharpton?
Any old Sharpton.
Conflict. Yeah, we'll do some conflict. And we're back to this crazy way this Mac is working lately. Okay, here we go.
It was worth it.
Oops, wrong one.
It was worth it.
Come on, here we go.
Shut up already. It's science.
There's no real conflict.
You've got karma.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I'm a little confused there.
Sir Don Silva in Ewa Beach, Hawaii. You know about the guy says, hey, how do you pronounce it? Is it Hawaii or Hawaii? And the guy says Hawaii. The guy says, well, thanks. He says, you're welcome.
Heil.
Okay. He sent in a note. Dear John and Adam, thank you for bringing your personalities with interesting news to us to us producers twice a week. You make it look very easy so that I don't feel I need to do anything. Then comes your cry for donations, and I hear the voice crying in the wilderness that awakens me. Please accept this contribution to the best podcast in the universe. Please forgive my lack of appreciation. I listen twice a week faithfully. Sometimes I don't hear the clips and just enjoy the banter between you two. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Sir Don Silva, Knight of the No Agenda Round Table.
Does he want anything?
Give him a karma.
Mm-hmm.
You've got karma.
Gladly.
Dave Dadouche in Malibu, California, 23333. Your show continues to blow minds across the universe, he says. Regarding the movie Aftermath, we're getting great reviews. It's been fun to meet some of the No Agenda family at the showings.
This is cool.
This is the one and only week to see Aftermath at the Leamley Town Center in Encino. It's Leamle, Los Angeles. Remember, say ITM and get the No Agenda discount. It really works. Thank you for encouraging courageousness. Adam, if you could roll 2 favorite clips and send karma to all the douchebags out there who one day, I'm sure, will donate after a while. You just can't help it.
Okay. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, actually. Yeah, we'll just do something simple.
Just anything. A couple of Sharpton clips.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't even explain what's going on.
No, clip machine's busted again.
Not the clip machine.
And her head is gone.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, when the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
You've got karma.
There we go.
Now, here's a good one. Sir David Pugh in Massillon, Ohio, $200, and he says, You know, I stopped listening to the show about 2 years ago. Why? Well, it's because I'm a douchebag. I recently rediscovered the show and was happy to discover not much has changed. I think a lot has changed in 2 years. But he says, please take this small donation in exchange for a de-douching and keep up the great work.
Well, absolutely. Here it comes.
You've been de-douched.
And that concludes our segment of executive and associate executive producers for show 676 in Palindrome.
Yep.
And we want to remind people we do have a show coming up on Thursday, Dvorak.org/NA, and channel Dvorak.com/NA. No Agenda Show and NoAgendaNation.com both have donate buttons. You can always go there if you can't get to Dvorak.org.
And we will be thanking more producers in our longer segment later on in the program. These, of course,
a shorter section to be.
Yeah, it'll be much shorter. And these, of course, are the actual credits that go along with producing a program of this magnitude. And you can use those anywhere. Put them on your LinkedIn. It does seem to get people to look at your profile at the very least. So thank you very much for your support and enjoy the titles, everybody.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And obviously, we do need you to keep on going out there and propagating our formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, what happened there? Sorry. Yeah.
Shut up, slave.
There we go. Shut up, slave. This is crazy news. You remember the Ron Klain? The Ebola czar?
Oh, yeah, the Ebola czar.
Yeah, he's done. His work is done. He's going back.
That was a short-lived job just to get a retirement paycheck, I'm sure.
He is returning to former AOL chief Steve Case's venture firm, Revolution LLC, and he's done. Everything's hunky-dory. His hair will be staying on for a little bit, apparently. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
He wears a piece?
You think?
I don't know his picture.
My goodness.
Oh, a real bad piece.
Yeah, very bad piece. Now, we have such an incredible...
This hair piece is so bad it has its own zip code.
Yeah, there you go. We have such an incredible intelligence network, which we tout continuously as the Global Intelligence Network, and everyone's a part of it. There will be a day, if you've not contributed, there's going to be something that happens either in your backyard, so geographically, or your field of expertise, and you will be able to chime in and help us. And this really happens on a consistent basis. And there was a report. Now, I've been in touch with this particular producer, Paul, for a couple of years now. And also regarding this case, we've had a lot of encrypted emails and stuff I couldn't talk about while this was pending. And this is a report from NPR. You may have heard about this, and I just wanted to play this for you and then give you the information from him and expose to you who he is in this process.
There was a setback today for the International Criminal Court. The ICC's first case of crimes against humanity leveled against a sitting head of state ended with the prosecutor dropping all charges. Those charges were against Kenya's president, Uhuru Kenyatta. The case was supposed to show that even the highest office confers no immunity from war crimes. NPR's Gregory Warner reports on what went wrong.
In the end, it came down to evidence. The prosecution had asked for the president's personal phone and bank records. It said that they would show he had a role in instigating and funding some of Kenya's deadly ethnic violence 7 years ago. But the government of Kenya did not turn over those records. The court, though it found Kenya non-compliant, could not make them comply. Wally Mumati of Kenyan NGO Mars Group Kenya says the judges in The Hague faced an unusually powerful defendant.
He's not your typical war criminal.
Uhuru Kenyatta is a member of one of Africa's wealthiest and most influential families. He hired a crack legal defense team, and outside the court proved adept at using the Kenyan media and diplomatic meetings to exploit growing anti-Western sentiment in what used to be one of the most reliably pro-Western corners of the world.
Now, our producer, Paul, was the single joint expert for this case in working for the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and it was his job to retrieve these phone records, which you just heard the court says they never were able to receive. And Paul says, this is very strange. I don't understand the accusation that the Kenyan government hadn't cooperated. Time and time again, the government said that the office of the prosecutor hadn't actually asked for the records. And if they did, they should do it via the Kenyan courts. But the court records show they never asked for them. At one point, they even accused our producer, Paul, here, of providing cell phone evidence to the defense and not to the office of the prosecutor. But as he was instructed as a single joint expert, he always provided his reports and data to both sides at exactly the same time through a Dropbox, funny enough. He still has a few rounds to go here, but he says, despite what the ICC claimed, both in court and in the press, both sides were always provided with the raw data and the reports at exactly the same time. The problem is there was nothing there. And so they just, that he never gave anything. And what our producer Paul says is this whole thing, it was never intended to succeed. The whole point was just to show that the International Criminal Court could indeed indict a sitting president. And they really had no intention of any kind of conviction. They just wanted to show that they could do that. And they're lying about the phone records.
So that means that this is messaging. So they're up to something. Now, would it be that it's obviously never to indict like George Bush or Obama for droning innocent civilians,
right?
Or anything that is.
Well, we don't recognize the International Criminal Court,
right? And we don't recognize the court anyway. But they're not. But they could still indict someone. Doesn't mean if you don't recognize them, I mean, you can't be indicted. I mean, true. Slobodan, what's his name? Didn't recognize him. So that's but he got indicted. I think it's to. I bet you they're going to indict Putin.
Well, Putin and Kim Jong-un. That they've been wanting to indict him on abuse charges.
There was a
human rights abuses.
Well, let's play this because they're all they can't keep this guy out of the news. So here's the Sony. Sony was hacked again.
Yeah, this is so stupid.
Now, here's the Sony. This clip is Sony bullcrap report that just made you roll your eyes when you heard it.
At Sony Pictures Entertainment, someone claiming to be with a hacking group sent the email. Variety obtained a copy of the email, which warns workers in broken English that they and their families will be in danger. Well, this comes after the studio's computer system was hacked last week. Several movies were stolen, and the personal information of some employees was released. There is speculation North Korea could be behind the attacks. Sony is set to release a comedy about a plot to assassinate North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
This is called promotion, people.
Yes, promotion
so obvious.
And then, but I like the way that I like the touch of just throwing in a little for propaganda purposes to make you think it might be North Korea, which wasn't, I'm sure.
Right.
Broken English. A threatening note in broken English.
Yeah.
Now, so these guys can go in and make this major hack and kind of bring all this very funny memos and stuff out of the Sony off the Sony computers, but it has to be but their threat is in broken English, as if they haven't got anybody in the government there that can speak decent English. Okay, fine.
I'd like something else about the emails. Apparently, in one of the emails, let me see. This is from. His internal emails, quote, "There's a general blah blahness to the films we produce. Although we manage to produce an innovative film once in a while, like Social Network, Moneyball, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, we continue to be saddled with the mundane, formulaic Adam Sandler films. Let's raise the bar a little on the films we produce and inspire employees that they are working on the next Social Network." How nasty for Adam Sandler.
I'm almost of the opinion that they want to get rid of his contract or piss him off or something, because this is like, it wasn't right.
I like his movies, and they always make money. They always make money, even if they're duds like this. Like Blended was considered a big flop, but it's made money. It's made his money.
Yeah, I think most of his movies do make money,
and they're cute. Sometimes there's problems with them, and the idea is always the same. But, that's what you get. It's an Adam Sandler movie.
That's a franchise. He's a franchise. Yeah. He can crank out movies. Yeah, he's not going to you're not going to see an Adam Sandler blockbuster.
Probably not anymore.
What they're doing. Yeah. I'm reminded of the story that was told by Peter Guber when he was running Sony. And he had the board. It was on his case all the time because they'd come out with 5 movies and they and they'd say, then they'd have to name the movies. And movie A did pretty well. Movie B was a huge hit. Movie C was a piece of shit. Movie D didn't do so well. Movie E broke even. And the board would always look at him and say, we don't understand how you're doing this. Why don't you do more
blockbusters? Do more blockbusters.
Yeah, do more blockbusters. Don't do these other movies.
And while you're at it,
if you could, it's like, telling somebody to write a hit song or
a viral video.
Viral marketing.
Yeah, get us a video that'll go viral, man. A viral video. Make one of those. Yeah, I know. It's stupid.
Yeah, well, that's because the suits are idiots.
Did you have anything on Ferguson? Because I do have a couple thoughts on that.
Well, let me see. I have way too many clips.
Well, no, I have no. I want to just not.
I have the Obama sore throat clip. Is that about Ferguson? No,
I don't know. No, I just want to go through a couple things because it's been nonstop.
There's one clip on Ferguson. It's the clip sucking. You can play that.
Okay, the clip sucking.
The suction you can see is so much better. I can feel it, and it's sucking everything up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's for the Shark vacuum cleaner. That was wrong.
It happens. Crazy. Couple things I just wanted to talk us through here. First of all, the term homicide has been banned. Let's step one step back. People are saying, and this has been pointed out by some of our producers, that the verdict in the Ferguson place or the verdict in the Eric Garner trial, these are not verdicts. And it's very important that people not confuse this by saying that there's been some kind of verdict.
I don't understand why people are doing this, but they are. You see it on social networks. Your good pal and my friend Molly
Wood retweeted the verdict.
Retweeted a verdict.
The verdict.
Oh, the verdict. The big riots after the verdict. Yeah. What verdict?
Yeah, there's no verdict. Then the second piece that is being bandied about is the coroner said it was homicide. Well, yes. But may I give you the legal definition of homicide for a moment? The killing of a human being due to the act or omission of another. Included among homicides are murder and manslaughter, but not all homicides are a crime. Particularly when there was a lack of criminal intent. Non-criminal homicides include killing in self-defense, a misadventure like a hunting accident, hello Dick Cheney, or an automobile wreck without a violation of law like reckless driving. So homicide does not necessarily mean a cold-blooded murder, but it is being presented that way, and words do matter. Next, I am confident if Jon Stewart ran for president today, he would be elected and everybody would be all in on it. For some reason, he has taken this race issue and turned it into his bully pulpit, and people just want to suck him off every single. Just, you know what? Please run for president, Jon Stewart. This is how stupid we've become. And the thing that irks me the most is the body camera. Now, I know that we disagree on this, John, but I think if we're going to do body cameras for cops, I would like body cameras for bus drivers. In fact, all automobiles should have body cameras. If you're driving a car or a motorcycle.
They do that in Russia. They have the dash cam for insurance purposes.
And it should be, mandatory pilots. How about grand juries? Let's have body cameras. Executioners. I've always wanted to have that stuff on TV.
You make light of this as best you can.
I make light of it because it is not the way to go, and the American people are being duped with this issue into a very, very unstable state. And I think where this might be leading with all this retraining and give everybody this federal stuff. Why not just have, how about federal police? Wouldn't that solve it? Federally trained police. In fact,
I'm not saying the connection in any way, shape, or form, what you just did.
You're not talking about, really? You don't see the connection of the federal government?
Body cameras. Oh, because we want body cameras on our local cops, that means what we're really
funded.
Cops.
Who's funding it? It's a federally funded program.
Well,
that's how I make the connection.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. And we have the Federal Protective Service. I've been waiting for these guys to pop up. It's about time.
We'll see.
Department of Homeland Security Police.
They want to, but I don't think the connection is vague to me. I don't see it. I think you're full of it.
Okay. All right. Well,
but here's something I thought was interesting. This is France 24 talking about all these riots and everything. And this is, if you listen to the names and the events that they're talking about, it's as though whoever sent the memo to the France 24 operation It's a different universe. Listen to this.
I need to know the name of the clip.
Cops killed, according to France 24.
Okay.
Away from Mexico, New York saw a fourth night of anti-police protests following the funeral of a black man fatally shot by a white police officer in Brooklyn. Last month's shooting of Akai Gurley, aged 28, was the latest in a series of incidents sparking outrage over what protesters say is the excessive force by law enforcement officers against African Americans. Recent decisions by two grand juries not to indict the officers involved in killing two black men have rekindled the debate on U.S. race relations.
Yeah. Well, keep it going, everybody.
Guy named Gurley and shot in Brooklyn, and then two guys were murdered in some grand jury that has nothing to do with the chokehold guy.
No.
And this is the reason for the riots in New York.
No, this is not the reason for the riots in New York.
No, according to France 24.
The reason for the riots in New York is people are being riled up.
Well, we know that.
Well, it's important to point this out. Again, drone strikes kill.
But my point is not that anyway. It's about what stories are they talking about? These aren't even part of the American lexicon. The propagandistic thing has got everybody actually riled up.
Yeah. Well,
it's two totally alien incidents. You don't find that peculiar?
No, I don't. I can't care because I'm incensed about what is happening. I mean, you're not on Facebook, and it's good, and it's good that you're not on there. And I'm on it because I need to see what's going on. And here's what I see all the time. It's a picture of a face, and it's a split picture. And the left side is a Native American Indian, and the right side is a black man, I presume a slave. And then it says America. Founded on the disintegration of one race and the enslavement of another. And everyone's like, yes, boy, we need to change ourselves.
Like,
it's fucking horrible. I get so mad by this. But it's not funny. People, and you know what? And the worst is the people from the UK and the Netherlands and Germany. You guys suck. But I could name 20 countries that are founded on those two core principles. But the people of America you are being duped, and you need to be very, very careful because you're going to get something that you do not like if you keep this up.
You weren't founded on those core principles. It's not a core principle.
It's the same thing as the 3/5. It's all of this stuff. These
other companies. You can name other countries that were formed on these core principles. That's implying that we were formed on that core principle.
If you want to look at it that way, I can name 20 others. If you want to classify,
a different way of saying it.
Well, that's what I meant. You understand? You understood what I meant. I think we need to be very, very careful about vilifying all police forces, all protective agencies. I'm no fan of any of this shit. And I don't like the border control. In fact, it's the Department of Homeland Security that scares me the most. And you watch these jabronis, they are going to have a place in policing our communities. Be careful. That is the plan. That's what I see happening. And when that happens, all right, good luck then.
We've already seen these jokers come and go in their Tiger teams or whatever those things are called, Zephyr teams.
Viper teams.
Viper Team 3.
I did get one thing from...
Train stations is confirmed it's locked down.
Listen to...
Viper Team 3 checking in.
Just something I just picked up, which I found idiotic. This is Melissa Harris Perry on MSNBC. No one watches her. No one watches MSNBC. She's black. She has a black guest on, and here's the topic of conversation I found interesting.
That night, some in Ferguson committed acts of arson, vandalism, and theft. And by the next day, 12 commercial buildings in the city had been destroyed by fire. And let me also just point out that arson and looting, while illegal and not things that I support, and I think also counterproductive in many ways, are also not necessarily violent in that they are violence against property. And that does actually carry a legal difference, right? I mean, violence against property ought to be different than violence against bodies.
Right. I mean, certainly harming a human being is worse than burning down a building.
It should be, right? It is.
Yeah, that's fine. It's very different. It's not really violent. Don't burning stuff down is not violent. These people are insane. Then we have, now this was interesting. This is the Chicago PD from their radio traffic picked up and recorded as if one of the protests was taking place. Sounds like they had one of those, not Sniper, not Viper, Stingray devices, and were picking up everybody's cell phone traffic. Listen to this.
1800.
Mobile with anybody sleeping?
C-pick on the Air 4 mobile.
Go ahead. Yeah, this one of the girls is kind of wrong answer here. She's been on her phone a lot. You guys picking up any information where they're going, possibly?
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on it. We'll let you know if we hear anything.
They're compliant. They're doing okay now, but she's spending a lot of time on the phone.
So that would be a warrantless wiretap, I guess.
Yeah.
She's spending a lot of time on the phone. You picking up anything?
No.
Wow. Wow. All right.
There's a lot of channels on those things. You got to kind of identify the right one. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, from what it sounds like, they know how to do it. They've got a lock on it.
You get good at it after a while.
Anyway,
probably I would say there would be some metering that you need. So if you're near somebody on the phone and you just want to listen to them, it would have more dog biscuits.
Let me ask you a question. Why is it that we had a continuous loop going of Eric Gardner dying in front of our very eyes, as we're told? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. He's dying. The narration is certainly he's dying right now. This man is now dead. But we never see beheading videos, or we can't show that. Why is that? I don't understand. Is that maybe because we're trying to be told something, like John McCain said, the American people need to be told?
All I want to know is, where's that black box? Where's the black box?
From Russia?
Yeah.
An MH7. There was
Who has it? Holland or Denmark?
Actually, I have a report here from Amsterdam. Let me open it up for you. This is from Reuters, so take it with that grain of salt. Angry families of MH17 crash victims seek UN investigation. The crash victims angered by what they see as Dutch mishandling of inquiries into the disaster, which makes sense because the Dutch definitely have to cover up anything that is negative for Russia, because the Dutch live off of Russian money. They want a special UN envoy to launch an international investigation. A letter was sent to Prime Minister Mark Rutte on Friday, a copy of which has been seen by Reuters. Dutch officials have failed to build a case. They asked that inquiries by the Safety Board and Prosecution Service be handed over to the United Nations. Yeah, good luck with that. That'll work. Rutte should request the UN to appoint a special envoy to take over, said the attorney for the victims' families. And apparently the Dutch launched the largest criminal investigation in their history after the crash. I'm just going to call bullshit on that. That's not true. There's almost nothing going on. Nobody knows who was doing what, said Bob van der Goen, spokesman for the law firm. There's no coordination, no leadership whatsoever by Holland. Rutte said on Friday, Dutch teams were returning to the Netherlands. We've done everything we could in view of the safety situation and the weather. Oh, the weather. We cannot do anything more right now. An international inquiry is the only way to identify.
What's there to do? You got the black box. What does it say?
They need to, whatever it is, distract from the black box. Would be the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. That's all. Just distract everybody from it.
How long does it take?
You're never going to get it, ever. Ever. It's not going to happen.
Well, apparently it's going to prove your thesis, which I believe, when all is said and done, is the correct thesis. We should probably get a clip of it and play it on the show again sometime.
Oh, you mean about the war games that were going on and the blanking of the radar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a very good analysis, one of the best.
I'll have to figure out what show. It's too long for a clip. I think
No, you can just replay it as a,
I think it took me 45 minutes to get to the whole point.
Didn't take, well, it seemed like 45 minutes, but that's just you.
You were so mean. You were so mean.
Well, I got a little thing for you there to liven you up.
Okay.
I have, by the way, before I go to that, I have the Jen Psaki burn report. We have this theory on the show for people out there who don't listen all the time, is that Marie Harf is trying to get Jen Psaki's job.
Uh-huh.
So the thing she does now, she leaves her mic on.
Well, you mean Marie Harf sabotaged Jen Psaki's mic?
I believe so.
Good point.
But I thought you'd have it.
Of course I have it.
Okay, well, let's play the Democracy Now! Or one of these TV shows. Maybe it was NewsHour. The overview of the Jen Psaki gaffe, and then you can play the actual clip. This is Jen Psaki burned.
State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki has been caught on a hot mic criticizing the U.S. talking points on an Egyptian court's decision to drop all charges against ousted President Hosni Mubarak. Psaki spoke at a news conference after Mubarak was cleared of ordering the killings of hundreds of protesters during the uprising against his regime in 2011.
Well, generally, we continue to believe that upholding impartial standards of accountability will advance the political consensus on which Egypt's long-term stability and economic growth depends. But beyond that, I would refer you to the Egyptian government for any further comment.
At the end of the news conference, a mic captured Psaki telling a reporter that Egypt line is ridiculous. Psaki later said in an email to ABC News, quote, "It's just the latest scientific evidence of global warming. Now we have to worry about hot mics." But as Secretary Kerry reminded me, I'm in good company in this administration.
Okay. So
what a crappy report.
So they don't even play the open mic bit?
No, and here's the thing. This is like let's burn the bleep down.
Oh, my God.
This show is ridiculous. They leave stuff out. It's such a piece of crap. It's ridiculous.
Well, there's more to it.
Okay, I'm all ears because I want to know, because I know this is Marie Harf's doing.
Well, and this, of course, is the work of a woman scorned, no doubt.
Well, Matt and Marie.
Oh, yeah, baby.
They're talking sensibly. They're sitting in a tree. Kissing.
It's the Matt and Marie Show. Starring Matt Lee. Also starring Marie Harf.
So here's the point that the report also did not point out. It was not just some reporter. No, it was Matt Lee saying, what you just said makes no sense. And what she just said is that bit that Democracy Now! Played, which made no sense. Does anyone say that? That report was shite, no doubt about it. Here is the setup. Here is Matt, which is, of course, is Marie's boyfriend, and she's very pissed off. That's why she's trying to undermine Jen to get her out of the picture. I think this is a love triangle problem we've got here.
Well, generally, we continue to believe that upholding impartial standards of accountability will advance the political consensus on which Egypt's long-term stability and economic growth depends. But beyond that, I would refer you to the Egyptian government for any further comment.
Wow. I don't understand that at all. What does that mean? You believe that? Of course you do. But were those standards upheld in this case?
I don't have any specific comment on the case. I'd point you to the Egyptian government.
You think justice was served?
I don't have anything specific on the case.
What you said says nothing. I mean, it's like saying, well, we support the right of people to breathe. Well,
if we have a further comment on the case, I will make sure all of you have it.
I think that is very relevant to the story. But no, that's skipped over.
Yeah, he left that out.
And here's the end. It's
by the way, the right to breathe line is quite funny.
Yeah, but Matt is funny. He's our guy. He's the only journalist I have any respect for. Acting journalist. And here is the hot mic bit. You have to listen closely. I've boosted it as much as possible.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That Egypt line is ridiculous.
That Egypt line is ridiculous. There you go.
Yeah, I couldn't hear a word of it.
No. Well, you can hear it on the
Something
podcast.
About ridiculous.
That Egypt line is ridiculous. Is exactly what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
well, maybe the love triangle is a little more unique, maybe more interesting. It may be that Jen and Marie, there may be something going on there.
Hey, and Matt. Oh, okay.
And Matt's kind of in the middle. They're trying to, something's up. Something's up. Maybe Marie flirts with Matt.
Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka.
Yeah.
To get under Jen's skin. Possible.
Hey, it's not like this inter-office romance doesn't happen.
It happens all the time.
I think it's very, very possible.
All right, so to get to what I was trying to start with, which is a little thing for you. I want you to spot the gaffe.
Oh, wait, whoa. We have a jingle for that, John. I didn't know that was coming up. Where's my gaffe? Where's my gaffe jingle? You just can't get help. Here it is. It's Catch the Gap is what it is. Hold on.
Catch the Gap. Get ready for a Catch the Gap.
Catch the Gaff.
What clip is it?
This is David Brooks, Guess the Gaff.
There you go.
David?
I was afraid you were going to turn to me.
I was waiting to see what you had to say about that.
Yeah, no, listen, if the president could turn up a dial and create jobs, that would be great, but presidents can't do that.
If you can turn up the dial, what's the gaff? No.
You're not going to get it.
Can I? Do you mind if I listen to it one more time?
Okay.
I would really. I need that.
David?
I was afraid you were going to turn to me.
I was waiting to see what you had to say about that.
I can't hear what you say. Is it something in there? I can't hear it.
I was waiting to see what you had to say about that.
Yeah, no, listen.
Yeah, no.
President...
Yeah, no. He said, yeah, no. I got it. Yeah. He said, yeah, no. I heard it. Yay.
Get ready for a Catch the Gap.
Woohoo! Hey.
I'm starting to hear it now. I heard that one right away.
Nailed it.
To clip it, and then I heard JC say it. And I'm starting to analyze it a little bit because no. I think it's. Here's what I'm thinking. I think it's actually a rewrite diminutive version of you know.
You know, possibly.
Where you just say and you listen to football games. We did this. And you keep saying, and then that's devolved into, no.
Maybe.
It's the only thing I can think of because it's a filler. It's no reason in the world to use it, to ever say it. And it's a filler, and is a filler, and no is a filler.
I believe it is more intricate. I think it is more, you say something, I'm going to, for a moment, say, yeah. So you think, oh, he's agreeing. No.
Yeah, but it's instant. It's so instant and it's so throwaway. And it sounds just like, exactly, as a matter of fact, that there has to be a connection.
Well, I don't know. I feel that...
I mean, we don't know. This is just theory, and I'm just starting to hear it now, so I'll be able to eliminate it from my vocabulary, which I'd love to do because it's stupid.
It's not very attractive. Let's put it that way.
Well, if David Brooks could say it, I mean, I don't feel that like a bad company.
Let me see what we have here. Oh, there's a lot of different stories.
Let's go to the botched rescue.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now, I also got, I don't clip the whole thing, but they brought in Brian Ross, who's a notoriously bad reporter.
Yes.
According to media.
This is the ABC report that you have?
Yeah, ABC guy.
I love this. With the animation?
They had some animation. I didn't get the whole thing, but they have botched rescue and then the botched rescue attempt questions, which is the, you have some questions. When you play this part, you go, oh, you got questions, but play botched rescue and then we'll go from there.
Is ABC World News Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Dan Harris. The Special Operations Forces were on a dangerous mission facing an urgent deadline. Al-Qaeda was threatening to kill this American hostage, Luke Summers, a freelance photographer, by today if their demands were not met. So the commandos, including members of SEAL Team 6, launched an overnight raid into Yemen to rescue Summers, but it went bad. He was executed by his captors, and today President Obama, who authorized that raid, called it a barbaric murder. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross is here with the details of this harrowing operation. Brian, good evening.
Well, good evening, Dan. It was a high-risk mission to begin with, under less than ideal conditions, with an almost full moon and little element of strategic surprise because of an earlier failed rescue attempt 10 days ago. But U.S. officials decided there was no choice but to try it, given the imminent threat. U.S. officials believe that Al-Qaeda had planned to execute 33-year-old Luke Summers sometime after sunup today.
It was a very dangerous and complicated mission, but like always in these efforts, there's risk.
You didn't get the report I got about what actually went. Do you know what went wrong? What happened?
Were the guys peeing outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's in the second part, but this brings a...
the only reason I bring it up is in the report I have, the whole thing's animated, right? You have the Ospreys landing.
They had the same thing. They showed that.
And then they see an Al-Qaeda guy pissing against the wall.
Come on. That's the exact same thing. But there was a couple of things that were interesting. Play botched rescue attempt questions, and this is what kind of got my attention. And also they have some strange sound effect in the back that I deconstructed.
Okay.
Which it turns out to be a modem sound.
You want to play that? I'll play the questions.
Yeah, play part 2.
The rescue mission was launched from a U.S. airbase in Djibouti around 1 a.m. local time. Some 40 members of the elite SEAL Team 6 landed about 6 miles away from the Al-Qaeda hideout to avoid being detected by the aircraft noise. The team made its way on foot to within 100 yards of the objective when, a U.S. counter-terror source tells ABC News, one of the Al-Qaeda guards who had gone outside to relieve himself spotted the team. What ensued was a fierce 10-minute gun battle in which most but not all Al-Qaeda guards were killed, with none of the U.S. forces injured. But U.S. officials say one of the attackers was seen racing inside the building and is believed to have shot both Summers and a second hostage. One of them died from his wounds being flown out to a U.S. Navy ship. The other died in the ship's medical facility.
First of all, whatever happened to that? Yeah, that's what that sounds like. It's a modem sound.
Yeah, like HAL kind of sound. Yeah.
So what was where it happened to our stealth helicopter? The one that's silent. You can't hear it. You can land right next to the place. Where's that? Why did they use that? It doesn't make sense.
They use 2 Osprey, which is the tilt rotor.
The noisiest pieces of crap in the world.
There's so many things I don't understand about this, where all of a sudden it's very important to get these 2 guys. I have a Josh Earnest with a White House press conference about this, where there's some information there. And then I have some information from the Dutch press, which I want to share with you. First, here's Josh Earnest responding. I think he's only responding about Luke Somers here, and not about Pierre Corky, which is interesting.
Last month, the president authorized an operation to rescue Luke, who has been held hostage by AQAP in Yemen since September of 2013, and a number of other hostages.
Now, when do we decide someone is important to go rescue? Not once, but twice. That's what I'd like to know.
Photographer
who works for
to be something of a goofball.
Who works for Al Jazeera?
Yeah,
come on.
As soon as the U.S. government had reliable intelligence and an operational plan, the president authorized the Department of Defense to conduct an operation to rescue Mr. Summers. Regrettably, when the operation was executed, Luke was not present. Though hostages of other nationalities were present, and they were rescued. The mission was coordinated with the Yemeni government and was undertaken by U.S. and Yemeni forces. We have a strong, collaborative relationship with the Yemeni government and will continue to work together to counter the shared threat that we face from AQAP. The details of the operation remain classified, so there's a limit to what I can discuss here. The overriding concern for Mr. Summers' safety and the safety of U.S. forces who undertake these missions made it imperative that we not disclose information related to Mr. Summers' captivity and the attempted rescue. The Department of Defense has acknowledged the fact of the operation now in order to provide accurate information that is being given given that this is being widely reported in the public domain. The president could not be prouder of the U.S. forces who carried out this mission and the dedicated intelligence, law enforcement, and diplomatic professionals who supported their efforts. Their effort should serve as another signal, a clear signal, to those who would do us harm, that the United States will spare no effort to secure the safe return of our citizens and to hold their captors accountable.
Now, the organization, the South African organization Gift of the Givers, who are registered in the United States as a nonprofit and have not reported, they're registered, they show up, but they have not reported any financial documents. In fact, they are only registered, no financial information, so we don't even know how long they've been around, but they are in Fort Washington, Maryland, is where their U.S. subsidiary is. They are in the category of human services, emergency assistance, food, clothing, cash. And they ruling year 2012, so they are grossly behind on their reporting. They are very angry, according to the Dutch press, because the South African who died, Pierre Corky, apparently the Gift of the Givers had already set up a payoff. They had passport, tickets, everything ready. He was supposed to be let go the next day.
That was reported here.
Really?
Yes. That was reported here.
I didn't hear much of that.
I did. They didn't emphasize the part they left out was that the group was irked.
Irked, to say the least.
But it was obvious they were irked.
So I haven't figured out much about this.
Well, all you can say is maybe the guy had to get killed. I mean, it seems to me that
that's what I'm thinking too.
Are these botched? Really? Are they really botched, or you come in there firing guns, having a 10-minute fight? Is the guy dead yet?
Well, let's review. Where did they die? They died. One on the helicopter, one on the naval ship.
Yeah, the one on the naval ship was dropped from the helicopter.
No, don't say these things. I got to look into this gift. I got to look into this gift.
It's very fishy.
It totally is. And if you look at this Gift of the Givers.
Now, by the way, I didn't realize that the guy was a reporter for Al Jazeera, which makes it even more fishy, because why are we rescuing him? And the whole thing he's very fishy. And the rush job, we had to do it now.
He's a British-born, naturalized American citizen. I mean,
our guy or the South African guy?
Our guy. Which, I mean, on the list of things, I think you get natural-born American citizens first, and then you're definitely second class if you're British, and then you get your passport. I'm sorry, you're second class.
Oh, rightfully so.
Why should be top? Why should be top of the list? I don't know. So to me, it smelled immediately of. Now, I have not found the typical USAID State Department connection with Summers, but I found he's a photojournalist for Al Jazeera and a couple of other very obscure outfits. Nothing that we would have seen. I don't know. We haven't mounted such rescue missions for the guys who got beheaded. We didn't try to rescue any of those guys, did we? That I know of.
Not to this extreme where they actually took 2 shots at it.
And with ospreys and the whole deal, I found that to be curious, and they state specifically that they were not killed they were not assassinated, they were not killed by our gunfire, but they did die of their wounds in our care. And this is a Gift of the Givers Foundation. Now we got to look into this. giftofthegivers.org. They are operational in Yemen, Gaza. Hold on. They have a map here. We are active. Let's see. Oh, my goodness. Spain, Italy, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. These guys are out. These guys are.
It has to have something to do with them because, you said, the guy was supposed to be given up the next day.
We couldn't have him out on the street.
We couldn't have him out because he either knows something or he's I mean, you don't know that he was. I don't know. The whole thing is very suspicious.
Here's what it sounds like to me. You're right. It was not about our guy. It was about this guy, and the Summers guy is just a cover up. This warrants some real research. And it's disturbing that Gift of the Givers has not reported any financial information to the IRS. And so they are late with their 2012 and 2013 filings. That's October. You have to file, and otherwise you're in violation. And they also don't have like a news thing about their guy on their website. Like, we're sad.
Is that right? They usually put that up immediately.
Like, we're sad.
Yeah, we're sad our guy got killed.
No, I don't see any of that. I don't know. We got to find out who's behind that. That's deep.
Something fishy about this whole story. It just doesn't ring right in any way, and all the rigmarole around it, and I don't know.
Meanwhile, the rhetoric is dialed up about Christians being persecuted by ISIS, killing them. The Pope is all over this.
Yeah, the Pope's all over it.
And we have the Andrew White, known as the Vicar of Baghdad. And I've heard of him. I haven't really followed him. Though he speaks in a very dramatic, very strange cadence. And well, this is a pretty interesting story, and I got a short clip of it because he's just so drawn out the way he talks. But, well, listen.
A few days later.
Oh, hold on a second. I got to split that audio up somehow. How did that happen? There we go.
That was drawn out.
Here we go.
Story of some of our young people. ISIS turned up and they said to the children, you say the words that you will follow Muhammad.
ISIS showed up and said to the children in the parish, you say the words that you will follow Muhammad.
And the children, all under 15, for them, they said, no, we love Yeshua.
Yeshua, we love Jesus. We love Yeshua.
We have always loved Yeshua. We have always followed Yeshua. Yeshua has always been with us. They said, say the words. They said, no, we can't. They chopped all their heads off.
So believable.
This is like the worst Broadway play ever.
And her head is gone.
That's what we have been going through.
They chopped their heads off.
That's what we are going through.
This guy, he must be a psychopath, the way he talks.
I don't even know what you're playing.
The vicar of Baghdad, Andrew White.
Guys, God.
He runs the parish in Baghdad, and he says that...
Put him together with John Kerry and give me a clip.
You didn't like that he... Well, I thought it was...
Well, I mean, yeah, but again, it's like I said, it sounds like a bad Broadway play.
Well, we could always do this. That always helps.
Well, that wouldn't hurt, that's for sure. Little sound effects to fill out the blank space.
Sound
Actually,
effects.
what you should have done was taken the guy's voice. You send me that clip, I'm going to fix it. And
Okay.
and you can you can do a pitch change and then run it faster, and it would actually be pretty. You could listen to it. I'm going to try that with Kerry.
No. Kerry is useless. He's useless.
He is useless.
Nah, he's just completely...
How does a guy throw in so much? And here I am amongst you all. You're in the audience, and I'm up here on the stage.
I'm awesome. I'm fantastic. I'm really good.
We're going to have a discussion because you and us, we have the same general things to discuss. And you're in the audience, and I'm on a stage, and he never says anything.
A new superhero in our midst. He is an animated cartoon, a genuine superhero here to help the people of the Euro lands, the Euro zones. He has a cape. He talks to world leaders. He is known as Captain Euro. This is on TV.
Captain Euro, Europe's superhero. David Cameron and the F word. We join our hero after 3 days of intensive coaching. It is now 4 a.m., but Captain Euro never gives up. Mr. Cameron, I know you can do it. Give it one more try. I just can't. I've tried so hard. I promise it's just too much for a Tory. Never fear, Mr. Cameron. I will guide you. You cannot ignore the obvious anymore, Mr. Cameron. We have reached the breaking point. Let's try again. Okay, I'll try one more time. That's the spirit. Here we go. The 7 letters are F, E, D, E, R, A, L. Federal. I did it, and it didn't hurt so much this time. It's getting less painful every time.
This is a cartoon.
This sounds exactly like you.
Like me?
Yeah, the guy's voice. It sounds like you.
Oh, well, first of all, I wish...
Did pitch analysis, this is you.
Well, it's not me, and I wish it were, because I would have made some good money off of this thing, funded by the EU. And I have an analysis here. This is Captain Euro. We're going to have a conversation with the creator of this cartoon. This is serious.
Well, can I stop you for a second? Because you've gone, first of all, making me think it was you.
It's not me.
Just deciding to do a play in the middle of our show.
No, it's so bad.
I'm thinking, okay, was this a commercial? Was this a TV show?
This is a superhero on television.
Public service announcement? Was this in between shows? Was it
It airs on television all over Europe. It is a superhero known as Captain Euro. He has a cape. You can look him up. Look him up on Google, Captain Euro. And he has a show. And the show was meant
Is it a Saturday morning show? Is it prime time? Is it up against...
It airs at different times in different countries. I have an analysis of it on the BBC a serious panel discussion about Captain Euro.
Why is anyone running this piece of crap?
Will it catch on? Well, it was a starring role for Giles. Anyway, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Nicholas DeSantis, the creator of Captain Euro, who joins us now. Why?
Why? Because I think it's time to bring this discussion to the United Kingdom in terms of where is the UK as a system of government going to go. As you know, we now have the options of having either more regional power, or having an English parliament, or having English votes for English laws.
EVEL, as we call it.
That's right.
Why a comic strip?
Because I think it's time to explain federalism, the European Union, in which people can understand. Because I think some of the topics we're dealing with, the people in the street are really not. It's very complicated to talk about the EU. It's
and dry, I suppose, for some people. You're talking about institutions.
And we think Captain Euro can bring this as a new way to explain this concept.
Right. Well, since this is the first time you've probably heard or seen this, does Captain Euro do it for you? Does it bring the European Union to parts that others haven't reached?
On the internet? Well, actually, I think it does serve a valuable purpose, because it is important to have an explicit debate about whether Britain wants to be part of a federal country. And, you know, federalism to Alexander Hamilton was a distribution of power, much of which did go to the centre.
This is having an actual serious conversation about Captain Euro to explain the stupid slaves what federalism is and what Europe is supposed to be. And by a French guy who made this horrible, horrible play with animated figures.
This is insanity.
It's baffling, is it not?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Did you look it up, the Captain Euro?
No, I was sitting here. I couldn't move. I was like stunned.
Let me see.
I'm just finally snapping out of it.
If you just search for Captain Euro, it's captaineuro.eu. And
I'm going there now.
You have to take a look. The website is just wow. And they've got episodes and they've got a lot of
images for Captain Euro. This is not even a good cartoon.
It's captaineuro.eu. That's where you want to go.
Well, I'm looking at the images right now. I wanted to see that first. And there's a sexy girl called Europa. And here's a good picture. Captain Euro, Europa, the blonde with a small waist, Helen, who looks like a bitch, Marcus, the black man, Eric, the blonde, I don't know, Pythagoras, some scientist, the scientist who's all in on global warming, and the dog Lupo, which is a wolf. Actually,
and you see
that's the characters.
Isn't it grand?
Grand.
And Captain Euro, he has a motorcycle that he rides on.
Well, he also has a little Porsche of some sort.
You can get a patch. You can be on the Captain Euro team.
Ooh, I want a patch.
Yeah.
This is stupid. If this is the way they have to, the parodies are funnier. Yeah. Captain Euro with looks like the character.
There's a lot of good parodies, of course.
Yeah, Von Rompuy as Captain Euro. This horrible-looking version of him. Captain Euro.
They also have a villain, though. They have the villain.
Yeah, I see the villain. He's got an eye patch.
Yeah.
And he speaks, and he's got hair that's two colors.
He's Dr. Dexter Vidarius, who wants to divide and destroy Europe.
Dr. Divider.
I'm sorry. Divider. Yes, there you go. Dr. Divider.
Yeah, that's creative. Wow, this is like This is great. This is the find of the day.
It kind of reminds me of Speed Racer, the style.
Oh, no, it's like a worse version.
Yeah, but it's that style of Speed Racer.
Yeah, crap.
Well, I like Speed Racer.
Which doesn't mean it's not crap.
The thing that no one's really discussing, or that maybe I'm missing it, since when did federalism become the topic? I thought this was never, we are not going to be the United States of Europe.
That's what I always thought.
But this is completely what they're talking about. 100% federalism. And then even bringing Alexander Hamilton into the conversation. But, here
it is. Look, Captain, people who doubt Belgium. Quick, to the Eurocord.
What's the Eurocord?
I have no idea. It's just a random image. Let me go visit the page.
They are the new ambassadors of global peace, bearing the European message with them wherever they go.
I think it is a parody again. Serving the paranoid since 1997. ZPI blog.
This is great.
Hail Hydra.
This is really, really good. This is great stuff. And and this is where your EU tax euros are going.
Yeah, that and the two
fund
capitals.
This. I do like the what's her name? The chick. Let's call her chick. She's Miss Euro. What is
Europa?
Yeah, Europa. Helen is what her name is.
Helen. That's the other one.
Helen.
There's two of them. There's two chicks.
Now the website is busted.
Captain Euro battle a group known as the Global because 40 people in the chat room went to the website and brought it down.
And to let a French guy put this together, that's just insult about everything.
Captain Euro battle a group known as the Global Touring Circus that includes 4 goateed villains, a human cannonball who knows ventriloquism, a fashion model mistress of disguise, and an evil rum-drinking parrot. The leader of the GTC, Dr. D. Viter, seeks to foment independent-mindedness in the people of Europe and keep them from being under singular Belgium control. Hence the puny name. The GTC as a traveling company symbolizes the evil of decentralization.
I have an idea. They're only missing one thing. I bet I can pitch it to this French guy.
Ports and scanning.
Hey, everybody, it's Freddy the Firewall! Here to protect you, Europeans! Freddy the Firewall! Maybe I could get in.
That'll be good for the next 6 months.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda.
We have a few people to thank. Very few, as a matter of fact. In fact, we have 11. We have 20.
Do you feel safe with Freddie?
20 old people decided to come in at this level.
And I rolled up Freddie the Firewall for that.
Yeah, well, Freddie the Firewall, they deserve. You have to thank these folks. Earl Douglas Bechtel. Somehow he became part of Bechtel, but he's Earl Douglas Bechtel. He was a direct donor through $100.55 through a wire transfer.
Oh, nice.
BrianBarrow.com and Wooten Bassett Royal in Wiltshire, $100. Richard Hillebrand in New Woodstock, New York, $67.60. Daniel Gilbert in Fishers, Indiana, $60. Anthony Kuzella in Lost Wages, Nevada, $56.78. Rosanna Oglesby in San Antonio, Texas, double nickels on the dime. And she wants to go to her husband's knighthood. Okay. And we have a birthday coming up for him.
Yep, we got that.
33rd.
My eyes are off. I'm having trouble seeing the spreadsheet today. I don't know what's going on.
33rd birthday.
Yeah.
She'd also like to call him out as a douchebag because he listens and he never donates. Douchebag. Calling out her own husband as a douchebag and donating for him and getting him a birthday call out. Wow.
Yeah, send a picture, Rosanna.
Stephen R. McConnell in Cortland, Ohio. Paul Webb in Twickenham, Middlesex. These are all $50 donors now. Stephen was double nickels on the dime. Steve Winslow in Bristol. Adam Herbert in South Windsor, Connecticut. Christopher Walker, parts unknown. Patrick Macomb, I think he's a knight, sir. Long Island City. Manuel Acero in Los Angeles, California. John Streg in San Antonio, Texas. John McGinnis.
Twice.
2 donations, apparently.
Oh, he's in what is it? He's Dingley Village. I thought it said Disney. No, Dingley.
Dingley Village. Yeah. Dingley Village.
Dingley.
And finally, Eric Mann in Spring Hill, Florida. Sir Mark Tanner in Whittier, California. Vincent K. James in Decatur, Alabama. Jason DeLuzio in Shadsford, Pennsylvania. And finally, Sir Brett Farrell in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I want to thank all those folks for, we give a cumulative karma to all the people, all 20 of the people who helped us out on this show. 676, a palindrome that was ignored completely.
And thanks, of course, to people who came in with lesser amounts, mainly for purposes of anonymity. Also, people who are on the layaway plans, and it does work. I think we have a knighting coming up. Justin Fish, I believe, has been on one of the programs for almost 2 years, and he'll be knighted today. And all of that is highly appreciated. But we could do with a little bit more.
Yeah, that was a poor showing.
Because it's going to get bad around Christmas time.
Yeah, people are going to say, well, it's $50 for no agenda, or here's $50 for booze.
Yeah.
I'm going to take
let me think. Booze. Oh, it's very tough. This might be a job for Captain Euro to help us out.
And when you give it... Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Give the karma, but also do a de-douching for Cameron Smith.
Okay. All right, here we go.
You've been de-douched. You've got karma.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Ted Eric says happy birthday to Tyler Fay, who turns 32 years old today. Rosanna Oglesby says happy birthday to Tyler Oglesby, turning 33 tomorrow. And Patricia Hunt Worthington turned 77 years old yesterday, and a super donator today on the best podcast in the universe. So we say happy birthday to all of you from the staff and management, which is pretty much us. Staff and management.
Pretty much.
We have Sir Jiku becoming Baron of Maryland today, and he pledges his allegiance to Sir David Foley, the Grand Duke of the USA. Sir Scott Spencer becomes Baron of the North Georgia Mountains, and then we have not one, but two celebrations today, one for a dame and one for a knight, which is very nice. So I got my blade here, if you can. Tough one today. Judy Schwartz, come up to the podium along with Justin Fish. Both of you have contributed to the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more, and very happy to introduce you to the rest of the dames and knights here who we have at the round table. So I hereby pronounce thee Dame of the Bernie Village and Sir Father Fish. For you we have Poppies and Taylor's Vintage Port, Hookers and Blow, Ren Boys and Chardonnay, Dos Equis and Dutch Dominatrix, Bad Science and Perky Breast, 3 geishas and a bucket of fried chicken, vodka and vanilla, or maybe just some mutton and meat. It seems to be a favorite. Thank you very much for supporting us. Go to noagendanation.com/rings, enter all the information, and we'll get those to you as soon as possible. Very, very nice.
Hey, I fixed it.
Was your bell broken?
No, my bell, when I pushed it down, it would stick down at the bottom when I but now it pops back up every time. And it was just a little bit of ranch hand lubricant. I'm sitting here wondering what to do, and I saw the can of this stuff.
That's your okay. That's your lube.
It's great. You get it on your fingers though, and you can't hold anything.
That's right. Uh-huh.
Very difficult.
That sounds like good stuff.
That would anyway. Okay, well, it was disappointing, but we had at least a good crowd. I have a WTF clip. Okay. You know how we've talked about how cool it would be if we were judges at a beauty pageant or something?
Yeah.
It would be good, don't you think?
Well, it's more something you've wanted, but I thought we could always do a good job. The people
I think we could do a really good job. But now there's the NCAA playoffs, and they have a committee like judges that are going to pick the guys in football.
What is NCAA?
The NCAA, the New Christian Athletic Association. Oh, I'm sorry, College Athletic Association. Anyways, they have the football playoffs. They're going to have to pick 4 teams. They're going to have a playoff at the end, the 4 best teams. And I was stunned to learn this fact.
Regular college football season, the best of the best fighting to be one of 4 teams selected to play in the first ever college football playoff. An epic change after 145 years of NCAA history. Here's how it works. A selection committee of 13, including Condoleezza Rice, has been ranking teams since October.
What?
Yes, she has an endorsement deal with the athletic leagues. I think she sells jerseys or something. I've seen this before. She has some kind of deal with them.
What does she know to pick a football team to be in the playoffs?
I don't know.
Was she a big football fan her whole life when she was like playing the piano at Stanford?
Look, all I know is that the Dutch female field hockey team is not going to the finals. As you know, I'm a big fan.
Football finals? It doesn't make it. Of course they wouldn't.
Hockey team.
Oh, is that bad?
John, how many times do I have to tell you you're missing out on watching women's field hockey? This is the sexiest sport alive. And so the Australian team, who are good lookers, man. Oh, see, the thing that's nice about it is they're tall, they're lanky, and they got these cute little skirts that that flutter about.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to play against. Who are they going to play against?
You know, you're married, right?
Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything?
Nothing. I just said you're married.
You've never said that when I'm talking about being bi-curious. You never mentioned that.
You know you're married. I will from now on.
I think I am. Argentina. Oh my! This is going to be a duel of the
like
beauties.
The Brazilians. I mean, all those South American countries.
It's going to be
women volleyball people are dying.
Australia against Argentina. Are you kidding me? This is going to be a great game. Can't wait to watch.
Oh God!
We'll stick in Australia for a moment.
You better put down some tarp.
Yeah. Give me some of that ranch hand of yours. It's sticking with Australia now,
as it were.
We would like to. Yeah. We'd like to visit Australia with the Hot Pockets tour. We have people and New Zealand already offering their homes to be guides, etc. I have quite a growing list. We haven't really planned everything yet, but I'm extremely worried about what's happening to our friends down in Australia. The authorities are really getting away with everything now. Listen to this.
Civil aviation documents show almost 200 licenses have been issued for drone surveillance in suburbia, monitoring everything from power lines to tall trees. Now a bold move to use that technology in your backyard could save many hours for rangers on the beat and even a child's life.
Oh, this is where it always goes. Yep.
Councils are using drones in some aspects of surveillance. In other areas of Sydney and around Australia.
Drones can give a snapshot of hundreds of homes in a matter of seconds, quietly and discreetly.
This is where technology pushes the boundaries of the law.
And while there are privacy laws to protect us from one another, when it comes to councils and their prosecution powers, we come crashing back to earth.
Where enforcement is involved and where child safety is involved, privacy would come second to enforcement.
Meaning a council can fly a drone anywhere it likes without permission. Let's say in your backyard to check you have a pool fence.
Anything that saves kids' lives, I'm in favour of.
Swim coach Laurie Lawrence agrees the surveillance...
Think of the children.
Somebody please think of the children.
Yeah, you jumped me on that, but yeah. So we're going to fly drones to make sure no children are drowning in your pool. Hello, Australians. Are you crazy? Shoot that out of the sky.
They're just going to fly the drones to see if anyone's sunbathing.
Oh, did I ever tell you about my my test for my pilot's license in Portland, Oregon?
No.
The American pilot's license is very interesting. It really is a license to learn how to fly, even though you're supposed to, get tested that you can fly, because you can't really get insurance or anything without a certain amount of hours and a senior instructor signing off on it. But it does give you the opportunity to fly and to fly by yourself. And so I did my test in Portland, Oregon, and as we're flying, the instructor said, and he's an FAA instructor, "Hey man, drop down to 500 feet. Let's see if she's out there today." Apparently there's some woman who's sunbathing nude, and these guys always fly over, and that was a part of my test.
Yeah, and she never notices this, of course.
Oh, I'm quite sure she's all in on it. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Oh,
he's flying over again. I can't believe it. Had a little funny with the brain professor.
The brain professor. Good. We haven't heard from him for a while.
Well, he's in San Francisco now.
Oh, he's the one who moved.
Yeah, he now is at Stanford. And I check. Facebook is good for that because he's a narcissist. They all are. and posting stuff. But I think I was probably looking to see if he had any update on the brains that were stolen, which I still think is bullcrap.
Oh, the missing brains.
Yeah. Then there was a posting from him that says, "Oh, we're canceling our vacation next week because of the flu." And I went, wait a minute. So I posted a response and said, wait a minute. You're telling me that you did not get your flu shot like a good citizen? And he posted back and he said, yeah, I did. I hate to say it, but you're right. This flu shot is absolutely worthless. And
this is interesting to me because I have talked to so many people over the past 2 or 3 weeks who have the flu, and every one of them says, I got it right after I got the flu shot.
Here is a report about the CDC with a rare apology about the vaccine this year.
For the first time we can remember, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are going on the record saying the flu vaccine won't work this year. The warning comes just before the busiest part of the flu season in January and February. Unfortunately, there won't be any refund for any of the patients or insurance companies who spent money on flu shots earlier this year. Don't worry, just when you thought perhaps the CDC could boost their credibility, they found a way to put a sales pitch on the end of their warning. The CDC says if you come down with the flu, there is a cure. It's just going to cost you more money that will end up profiting the pharmaceutical giants GlaxoSmithKline and Roche. CDC officials are urging doctors to prescribe 2 specific antiviral medications for any patients who come in with flu symptoms. Just last week, the CDC issued a warning prompting Americans to take the flu vaccine if they haven't already. Health officials said they had 160 million flu shots on the shelves and ready to go. But just earlier this week, Italy launched an official investigation after about a dozen people died within 48 hours of getting the flu shot. Their national health agency issued an immediate warning saying don't take the vaccine. Here in America, the CDC isn't going that far. In fact, they found a way of turning this failed vaccine into a promotion for yet another big pharma drug.
Apparently, the word is the flu this year, it mutated. It mutated. And
it always mutates.
Of course it does.
But the thing that gets me is that the people who got the flu got it shortly after the shot. I think the shot's got live vaccine in it, or live flu in it. I think the shot, that's what the Italians pulled it from the market. I think it's a bad shot. I think you take the shot, you'll get the flu. You want the flu? Get a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I can say, because everyone I know who's got the flu, and there's a bunch of them, they all say they just got the shot. And it always goes like this. Yeah, and what really irks me is I got the shot.
Yeah.
And they got the flu.
Yeah.
Including a lot of people that were, the big shot advocates.
And it seems to be.
They didn't work. What they're talking about is Tamiflu. They're trying to get Tamiflu. There used to be other things. I think a flumazine or flu. I can't remember the name exactly, but it was an antiviral. Floozy. They got the Tamiflu is supposedly losing its effectiveness, and so I think they're trying to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. The other one, Relenza, which is the one they've never said the name of these two drugs they want to try to promote.
Of course not.
Is the one that is lesser known.
You have used Relenza, haven't you?
I've used both Tamiflu and Relenza. Right. I've used the Tamiflu hoping for the hallucinations. They never came, so it's not going to happen.
Try some Chantix. That seems to work.
Yeah, that would work. I've used both of them, and I think they work well. They kind of, what they do, in my opinion, to describe the effect, I could be wrong on how the mechanism works, but this is the way it feels when you catch the flu.
Right.
You got I haven't gotten any more ever since I took vitamin D3 therapy. It changes that you don't get the flu, but you start to get the flu. You start on a regimen of Tamiflu or Relenza. Either one, they're both they're similar.
Now, when do you do this? The minute you feel it, or when do you?
Yeah, when you're old enough and you would qualify. It's the flu. It's not a cold coming on.
Yeah, you can feel it. Yeah.
It's like, this is not a cold. This is the flu. Right. I've had it before. I know what it feels like. You start immediately.
Right.
And what it does is it stops the flu in its tracks by stopping its ability to replicate. And the Relenza is the one you take by breathing it in. You breathe in a chunk of it. And the Tamiflu you swallow. And what it does is the symptoms that you have stay. They don't go away.
Right.
So as far
but it doesn't accelerate. It just
it doesn't go anywhere. Right. It just stays. So if you're half sick and you're groggy, you start taking this, you will stay that way. And if you take it, I think for 7 days, and then when you're done, apparently what the effect is, I think, is that it leaves the flu in your body and your system gets all worked up. Oh, we can make the antibiotics. We can take care of this. You stop taking Tamiflu or Relenza, and boom, you feel it ramps up, and you say, "Oh my God, it didn't work. I'm going to be sick as a dog," because you can feel the flu coming on really bad, and then within 12 hours. The next day, boom, nothing. You got nothing. You got no symptoms of anything. It's just as though your body went into high gear and wiped it out.
Okay, so let me put this into some shorter terms without all the booms. I get Tamiflu and or Relenza. I think Tamiflu is what you're recommending.
No. I personally recommend Relenza.
Relenza. Okay, Relenza
is losing its ability.
We're getting Relenza. Again, this is over-the-counter product. I can just get it at the drugstore?
No. You have to get a prescription.
Okay. All right.
What do you think a Tamiflu prescription goes for?
Oh, you mean if you have to pay it yourself, not insured?
Well, even with insurance, Tamiflu, they took it off all the insurance because people were like taking it for prophylactic reasons. It's like $120.
Yeah, makes sense.
One prescription.
Yeah.
It's a scam.
Yeah. Well, hello. A couple things I got left here. The Ministry of Truth. First of all, Candy Crowley leaving CNN. I'm sad.
Where's she going?
That's no mention. So she's been fired.
RT.
No, that would be interesting.
It won't be. No, she's not.
Well, she's worked there forever.
She's going to one of the networks. She'll be going on NBC.
Well, she was fired. This is a firing.
She was fired?
Yeah, this is
for what?
When they say she's leaving, Jeff Zucker says she's leaving and not saying she's leaving. We wish her well. Hello.
Well, there was no well-wishing?
No, that's all. There was, yes, a well-wishing, but not a well-wishing in her new endeavor. Veteran CNN political anchor Candy Crowley is leaving CNN network president Jeff Zucker announced in a staff memo Friday. Crowley, who hosted the network's Sunday morning State of the Union news program, has been with the network since 1987. It is unclear who will take over her position. In the memo, Zucker called Crowley one of the most important and impactful journalists at CNN. I don't think she's going. I don't think she has a deal, John. I think that they're tired of her.
Yeah, well, she probably doesn't draw big.
No, I kind of left that one where it was. Let's see. Oh, this is very interesting. The French in Marseille have decided to identify its homeless population by issuing them with ID cards and a yellow triangle on their clothing.
No.
Yes.
This is a bogus story.
No, it's not. Not a bogus story. It's a great story. It's only half of a Star of David, so, no. You can look it up. That's great. That should be a European-wide thing. And then
the EU.
And here's something, just to make, if Sandy Hook wasn't weird enough, the bank that held the note on the Lanza home have now given back the house to the city of Hartford, but only after they have removed and incinerated everything in the house, because they didn't want anyone to be selling some of this stuff as memorabilia. Now, I have never... Strange enough that they leveled the school building, leaving nothing left for us to ever look at. Now they've incinerated the rugs, everything. Everything is incinerated from the entire house. And the bank said, we really wanted to do what was right for the community.
What bank was this?
Hudson City Savings Bank.
Yeah, also known as CIA Front.
Yeah, no bank does that. No bank said, it's not about money. We want to do what was right. Please.
Hudson City Savings, huh? Never heard of it. That's
Randall Bell, founder of Real Estate Damage Economics, a Laguna Beach, California company that specializes in property damage, said he proposed 9 or 10 choices to the bank on what it could do with the Lanza house. Among the options were selling it in foreclosure, selling it conventionally or bulldozing it.
Bulldozing it.
Strange.
Yeah, that whole story is pathetic.
Very, very strange.
Well, let's see what we got here.
Oh, then I also have the David Cameron now calling on media companies. This is very nice. Calling on media companies for social media terrorism policing. They want algorithms, apparently. Algorithms that would, what do they say? It could read an algorithm that correctly identifies terrorist communications, so that this thing can be reported to the authorities.
How does that work?
Well, it doesn't, of course. It's completely stupid.
It's another waste of money.
No, it's what they do over there. They're really good at it.
This legislation is important. The substance is right, the time is right, and the way in which it has been developed is right. It is a properly considered, thought-through set of proposals that will help to keep us safe at a time of very significant danger. It has been drawn up in close consultation with the police and security services. In an open and free society like ours, we can never entirely eliminate the threat from terrorism, but we must do everything possible, consistent with our values as a country, to reduce the risk presented by our enemies. It is a struggle that will go on for many years, and the threat we face right now is perhaps greater than it ever has been. And we must have the powers we need to defend ourselves.
You got it. Here's some algorithms.
Gate to the climate gate.
I know.
I have you said about Ferguson a little while ago, and I did skip a clip I want to play, which is the Democracy Now! Goes off script clip. They had a black cop on who was kind of a Rastafari. He's now a consultant. He's a really interesting guy. And he started to talk about something I've never heard anyone else say. And instead of going around the table about it, no, they cut him off and then go to some radical young black guy who's got his, essentially fist in the air talking about Whitey. And how the system needs to change. But let's play this guy and listen how they cut this guy off, because this is interesting.
When they jumped on him, at some point, one of the officers should say, "Hey, wait, hold it," because now you're going from a lawful act to a criminal act. When a person is begging for air, and you show a depraved indifference to human life, that is a crime. Representative King said recently that it's not a crime to choke. It is a felony crime to choke a person in the state of New York. He has a law degree, and he's speaking errantly. It is a felony crime to choke, cut off the airway or the flow of blood to the brain, and render an individual unconscious. It is a felony crime.
Michael Smith, I'd like to bring you into the discussion. You just wrote a piece.
Yeah, just to cut him off after they said it. The script apparently doesn't want to discuss this issue.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
You know that I can't back this up other than the reports I've seen, that the sergeant on duty who was supervising the arrest, who apparently is either heard or maybe in the longer version of the video you can see her. It's a female, Kizzy Adani. So she is the police sergeant supervising the arrest, is black.
Well, they want to, that's not important.
That doesn't fit, does it?
Got nothing to do with anything. Here's
doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit the script. It's like this guy and his choking thing.
And go away.
All right, here is a kind of maybe something we could figure out. This is another Democracy Now! Story with no research and just read it from some wire service. This is GMOs in the EU.
The European Union's announced an agreement that would allow member states to ban cultivation of genetically modified crops. The legislation would let the 28 EU countries ban the crops even if European Union regulators approve them. Environmentalists who are seeking to curb GMOs over potential health and ecological harms have voiced concern the measure could leave countries that ban GMOs vulnerable to legal retaliation from multinationals like Monsanto.
Well, I think the Monsanto's out of the business, or they're getting out of it, because it's not working out. But this whole story was like, why would the environmentalists be fearful of these countries being sued. And why is this even? This was a strange. To me, this was an unexplained story that makes no sense. Is Belgium going to let countries do what they want? Is this part of federalism that Captain Euro would be?
Well, this is Captain Euro will swoop down and talk about GMOs to the people eventually. But the way the citizens of Europe have been duped is into thinking that, well, the EU, it's just guidelines. You see, we have our own sovereign states and we have our own rules, and we don't have to follow the EU rules. So, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, well, that doesn't seem to work out. I had another confused story, and this was on a local TV show. And this is the confused story, which, again, makes zero sense, or it's a non sequitur. I'm not exactly sure how it's presented or what the formula is that makes it crappy.
Some pretty cute animals there. A record-setting white truffle has sold at auction for far less than it might have. The truffle, found in Italy last week, weighs 4.16 pounds. Sotheby's auctioned it today for more than $61,000. The buyer is from Taiwan. Sotheby's, though, said it received $1 million offers from China. It sold the truffle in New York so that the money would go to local charities.
Wait a minute. It was an auction, and Chinese bid more?
Wait, let's just go to a couple of things. It was auctioned in New York to a Taiwanese. The Chinese would give $1 million, but they auctioned in New York to a Taiwanese.
Yeah.
Because it was auctioned in New York, the money would go to charity. Why wouldn't the Chinese money that was bought, that would buy the truffle in New York, also go to charity? And why would it go to charity at all? If you got a truffle like this, you're selling it for a reason.
Now you're asking
dumb.
You're asking all the right questions.
Kind of news I don't get. It's just like, what are they talking about?
All right, I have my last 3 bits, and then you can play us out. You got a lot of clips today, which I like. One, Angela Merkel.
Okay. Ooh.
Angela Merkel. Actually, we should do. I'm sorry. This is not. I should have done this. Beep, 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 beep. Here we go.
The only good phone's a landline, and the phone should be made out of Bakelite.
Hey, that's right. Tech news, everybody. Woohoo! Angela Merkel comes out against net neutrality. In fact, calls for special access fast lanes. Yes. And she's on board. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has laid out her vision for the future of the internet, and net neutrality proponents won't be pleased, says The Verge. Douche buckets. In comments on Thursday in Berlin, Merkel argued for a 2-lane internet. 1 lane for special high-priority service, and another that's meant to resemble the internet as it exists today. And she said,
as it exists today, you mean with Comcast Business and Comcast Residential?
She argues that fast lanes are necessary for the development of new advanced uses of the internet, like...
Oh, you mean like Comcast Business?
Like telemedicine or driverless cars. According to Merkel, without guaranteed fast access internet connections, such innovations won't come to market. Well, yes. And in fact, this is how the internet has always operated. But except for all the douchebag dupe people who think that their Netflix is going to go slow. Yep. Yeah, Angela, I think Angela she's got money. Of course, she's being ridiculed by The Verge.
Oh, of course.
The European Union currently mandates true net neutrality. Though discussions
Whatever
have
that
been
even means.
Yeah. Though discussions have been underway for the future of internet regulation, Merkel believes her position is a middle ground. But the idea that general traffic lane will operate under net neutrality depends entirely on how much bandwidth it receives from internet providers. The Verge, that's Nilay Patel. Doesn't he do The Verge?
Yeah, he's one of the guys there.
Douchebag. I have here, our now proposed Secretary of Defense, Ashton Carter. Been looking up on this guy.
This guy's bad.
Well, he has a very interesting little piece of history. He is a theoretical physicist.
Yes.
And he has been involved with directed energy weapons and other devices for the space wars. In fact,
he's one of the guys who advocated bombing North Korea's nuclear facilities.
And in 1984, he wrote a paper titled Directed Energy Missile Defense in Space. This is my kind of guy.
Maybe it's to fight off the aliens.
No. Well, No, might as well take it straight to that. I just wanted to remind you one other thing. I just want to remind you, we were talking about the sad fact that the moon landing original films and videos are gone.
Yeah, it's a shame.
One of our producers pointed out to me. Also, the blueprints for all the Saturn V rockets, the lunar modules, and even the rovers are also all missing.
Huh.
I love that. So we erased the tapes. We lost all the blueprints of the lunar modules.
One of the most important events in the history of mankind.
Yeah, they've lost. It's a New York Times article from 1987 where it talks about that.
Probably lost.
Hunt is on for scattered blueprints of powerful Saturn moon rocket.
So I have the last thing here for me. I've got a bunch of stuff, but I'll play one more. Because this is kind of a baffling situation. Obama's sore throat.
Yeah, I heard this, and I'm glad you looked at it. Let me just see. Where is... I don't have Obama's sore throat. It's under the O for Obama. I get it.
And now to the breaking news involving the president. This afternoon, he went to the hospital, Walter Reed Army Medical Center, complaining of a persistent sore throat. Afterwards, the White House revealed the president had his throat examined with a scope and then with a CT scan. Ultimately, they reported the CT scan was normal, saying it was inflammation related to acid reflux and it will be treated accordingly. So let's bring in ABC's chief medical editor, Dr. Richard Besser. So when you have a sore throat, going for a CT scan, that seems like a pretty big move.
There was a lot in this story that didn't seem to hold true with what you normally see. Normally for a sore throat, initially you'll do a test for strep. If it goes on for a couple weeks, you might do a scope, but not a CT. It may be that he's a former smoker, he's the president of the United States. You'll often see presidents get extra testing.
I think it makes sense when you're dealing with the most powerful person on earth.
Well, I can
CT scans are like a lifetime of radiation. I think it was brought in for punishment.
I didn't expect you to say that. Hey, you're not doing it right.
Put him under the x-ray machine until it hurts. It's a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Christina.
You only get a CT scan when you absolutely need one.
Well, I think there's a lie in here. Well, there may be more than one. Christina had a sphincter issue, before y'all laugh, with her throat. And she had acid reflux. And what happens in this case is then the opening of your throat, it burns. It's literally burned from the acid that comes up. And she had this as a young child, and it really affected her in severe ways because it hurt to swallow food. So she was eating poorly, and there was no CT scan. They just an optical device, and we looked at it, and she has a lifetime of she has to take care of her acid reflux. She can't eat certain foods and has to be careful with it. But isn't there no CT scan? That's bull crap. You can see if you have a sore throat.
Yeah, no, I'm not. There's no argument from me, and I don't think anyone else would argue.
No.
To give somebody a CT scan because he's the most powerful man in the world. Well, maybe they gave him a CT scan because he's the most powerful man in the world. Need to be taken down a notch.
And the question is, which Obama did they do it to?
Well, probably the main one.
The main one? All right, the main one. All right, I think that's it. I have a lot of work to do this week because we have the 1,600 pages, the new defense spending bill. This is the new NDAA. And, there's always stuff in there that has to be looked at. Ugh. It's,
let's play this one last clip then. But this is just we've talked about this before. I just want to remind people that it's now people are catching up to the story that we discussed. And it's the genetic drug story, which also has a lot of elements that make no sense, but play that.
More than 100 companies were targeted. Generic drugs account for 85% of all medicines dispensed in the U.S. They can be used to be a bargain. They used to be a bargain, that is. But now the price of some generics are skyrocketing, up by as much as 1,000%. America's Christoph Putzel reports.
Dr. Sayer Bakai has owned this pharmacy in Columbia Heights for over a decade.
and he's never experienced anything like this before. He serves almost 100 people a day, predominantly black and Hispanics, from low-income households in this Metro D.C. neighborhood. And the big drastic change he's talking about is the dramatic rise in the cost of generic drugs.
The generics are priced so high.
Sometimes as much as 100%, even 1,000% spike. Douglas Hoey is the CEO of the National Community Pharmacist Association, a group with 23,000 members. He, too, is baffled by the price rises.
Payments to the pharmacies are staying the same, and patients are left with the bill, and pharmacies are left having to subsidize big gaps in payment and losing lots of money.
The question is, for how long can these independent pharmacists cover the price gap?
And if it's not the patient, it's going to be the employer or the taxpayer. And so if someone's paying for it, no free lunches.
Christoph Putzel, Al Jazeera.
All these generics are owned by the big pharmacies, aren't they? The big pharmaceuticals.
That's a very smart move. Where's the antitrust folks out there? The Democrats running things and they can't stop these guys?
No.
So they bought all the generic companies and they just jacked the price up to the same as the other price. Yeah, same price. It's generic. You can order it if you want, but you're going to, we'll give you $1 off. Anyway, it's a scam.
Nice.
Horrible scam.
That's how it goes. Sorry to say, that's how it works. All right, everybody. So that's what I'll be working on. Not the generics, but on the $585 billion defense spending bill.
Good stuff.
Riveting stuff. Actually, it's, to be exact, 1,648 pages. No, I don't think anyone's read this yet, so certainly not the lawmakers. They're not going to do it.
They just have to be told it's okay.
I will be commemorating Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day today. Memory of those who perished there. And I will, I don't know, try not to get the flu.
Well, don't get a shot. You won't get the flu.
That's the way to do it. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Coming to you from FEMA Region 6 here in the capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's kind of gloomy out, but it's not raining, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Thursday right here on No Agenda.
Bingo, boom, boom, chagalaka, boom, 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 chagalaka, boom, boom.
This, I think, could be one of the most important things that we don't know that we don't know. Right? There's the stuff that you don't know, and there's the stuff that you know, and there's the stuff that you don't know that you know. But the most destructive can be the stuff, to paraphrase Donald Rumsfeld, the most destructive can be the stuff that you don't know that you don't know.
Oh, there's no winning. We don't like to foster a competitive atmosphere, but we laugh a lot. Now everyone hug and share a secret.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA